Sippy sip.
I just took an X and then another one. You're beautiful. We should start just doing everything in falsetto like that. Let's fly.
What's up, yo?
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Jake's Couch, aka
Couch.
the cat's couch.
We're back.
Welcome to the couch.
It's orange.
Today we're gonna open up. I put the blankets down this week because I feel like every time I edit it, I look in the background and I just see them like balled up. And I'm like, it looks like we're
shit.
Yeah, not like shit, but it just because you're comfortable in your house and that's how it should be. It just looks like when you go over like someone's house and it's like, oh, their parents like work all day. Like,
yeah,
they really do not care. So this week we're gonna hard open the hardest open with some of the messages that you guys have been leaving to encourage other people to leave more messages.
Yeah, we got.
And this will be a cool way we could probably cut this up into like little clips that we can kind of repost throughout the week.
So let's see. We have a handful here. Let's start with this one from Junie.
Yo, hey Jake, Tyler, Curdy, if you're still hanging out. This is Junie, 8Q, 8KY, 4Us on Insta. And I was wondering, do you guys ever think about how limited and rare yo-yos are compared to other hobbies? Like, sometimes I'll see people talking about super rare, like, video games or albums or something, where they had like 50,000 copies produced. But then I think about how many yo-yos, where there's like 30 produced total. So it's just sort of wild to me that like there's so many modern yo-yos coming out every single week, but so many are being produced in such tiny quantities that they're going to be impossible to find in a decade, especially with how many people just get in and out of the hobby. Like, the average person who buys this stuff isn't going to be throwing it back out onto the BST. Just going to hang on to it forever. But I guess this also poses the question, are there even any current releases that people are going to fiend over in a decade, like a Bape or a Peak or like even something like a Woolly Marmot 2 or something? I guess this isn't a question as much as it is a sort of broad topic, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. So, yeah, take it easy, guys.
That's an awesome question and something that as people who make yo-yos, Jake and I, we often talk about. And I used to, before you got like back into making yo-yos, I used to make fun of brands or companies that didn't do any type of markings on their yo-yos because it's like impossible to identify. And like, I feel like I almost started a meme with it because then like, for the next 2 years following that, there would be weekly BST posts of like, does anyone know what this is? Who knows what this is? What is this one? And it had only been, that was like 2015, 2016. And that was like within the recent history of people being able to make yo-yos on their own. Now it's like not worse, like to each their own. I think people should make yo-yos the way they want to make them. But like it does.
You're not wrong at all. And I remember you saying that and people, well, my dad and usually it's like
it's boomer mentality for sure.
It is because it's always an older, like my older coworker. He's in his 70s. I showed him the Slappa SS coming soon, and he's like, "Wow, the finish is beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. But you really got to put your name on here." It's like the exact same thing my dad said, and I just don't want to put my name on there. And I know I don't have to put my name on, and I should do something. I always sort of thought maybe the white wall thing would be a little bit of a help, but it's really not. And
you were the only one that did that for a little while. Now there's like a factory that bit you.
So it's fine. And I know that in 25 years, especially if I'm not around, like there's not going to be any way to ID them, which sucks. But I also just don't really care. I don't know. For some reason, it doesn't matter to me.
People that buy yours are a little more purposeful with their
I feel like
purchase
that
making.
Might be true. And then also I feel like I'm going to be, if I don't die,
you're not going to die anytime soon.
Weirdly, so like I don't see myself not being in a place in the community where I can like be like, oh yeah, that's this one. Like I'll be at least, and I know that's not ideal. Like I'm just one person, but if someone does post on the BST, like someone's going to tag me and be like, which one is this? And like,
right.
it's a small enough community that I think it'll be not a huge issue, but it's definitely a great point.
You're the only manufacturer designer that has a design language other than like ART, where your yo-yos all have a similar vein in them, and it's not like drastically different. It's not like this one is completely different than this one.
Yeah, not yet. Anyway.
They're all different. I didn't mean like that. You know what I mean?
But not yet. They do all really,
because you're an artist in real life, so you understand design language and how to like apply little pieces of it. It's also crazy, like, to design a yo-yo isn't very expensive in terms of like paying someone to design it, and even if you do get artwork on it, getting an artist to do it, and like the yo-yo itself isn't super expensive, so it's not the craziest. Like if you make 100 versus 300, you're only going to be saving, like, you're not really saving anything because you're going to ultimately spend more money making more pieces, but like it's a margin issue where you're saving more money per piece. There was a skateboard documentary about like World Industries back in the day, or the guy who ran World Industries, Steve Rocco, and it was a similar message to what they're talking about in their message, where the people in the documentary brought up like comparing skateboards to like designer wooden tampons at like the rate they get used and then like thrown out, because like yo-yos are better because it's not like a yo-yo gets thrown away or it doesn't get dinged to oblivion, or like a kendama where eventually someone gets rid of it.
Kendamas are disposable, like literally,
right? Which is crazy for how expensive kendamas are. I mean,
they have a lifespan though, and if you play a lot, they don't really last that long,
right? It's like a skateboard deck or something where like and eventually like it's gonna not have as good of a, maybe not like a pop isn't the right word for kendama, but like the cups
they
are gonna
start
get
to
worn
suck.
down.
Like I've worn out a bunch and I don't even play that much.
You're gonna get chipped. That's crazy to think about. I do think about it a lot though, and it's, I mean, the cream rises to the top, so to speak, and where like the companies who make the best stuff continue to make it and make good stuff that people want to hold on to, and they make yo-yos with intention. It's not just like, oh, I'm making this is cool, right? And then like it just disappears. Like there's a guy who made a yo-yo called the Apathy. I don't know how to say, Dave McElvoy, whatever. And like he complained to no end when the Empathy company made the yo-yo called the Apathy. He's like, I was the first one to do this, and it's like, cool, bro, then trademark it and try to sue someone in the Czech Republic then, because like it's not really,
you just can't with that. I mean,
right. But yeah, that was another, not to veer off topic too much, we can kind of, but like that was one of the questions I wrote down for the week in my weekly roundup of like, should people make yo-yos, even though like if you're like brand new to yo-yoing maybe and you've only been yo-yoing for say a couple years, like do you think someone should make a yo-yo? Or like, what, in my opinion, it should be like 10 years. 10 years is a long time, but it's like, I don't know, or unless you like have a, like if Jake Elliott made his own yo-yo after he won worlds after yo-yoing for like 4 or 5 years, that would have been acceptable. But I feel like it's just the pathway to making a yo-yo right now is far too quick of like, oh, like
I agree.
I'm involved, and like I've learned 60 tricks, so like now I can make a yo-yo, and it's like,
it's tough for me. It's all about intention, because if you want to just, I can understand not playing long and wanting to just make a yo-yo for yourself. If you have an idea that you think would be cool that you can't find, so you can order 5 yo-yos, a prototype run for like $300. So just do that, and then you have your own custom yo-yo. But I think
that's something that shops should pitch more, is like, oh, like, and maybe up the price a little bit, but it's like,
no, it's a great way. And I think probably a lot of people should just stick to that. But I think a lot of people then, whatever, I mean, it's a natural inclination to be like, well, I could get 50 made and probably sell them. And like, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But if you have 50 friends or 50 people who are interested, you can go for it. But I'm more inclined to agree with Tyler in that, or with you, that like
a decade might sound crazy, but it's like,
I think you're gonna, maybe not, if it's just for fun, it's for fun, I get that, but you're probably in those 10 years gonna regret the yo-yo you made 6 months in, because you're gonna realize like, you didn't really know what you wanted, or it could have been better, or maybe the branding you picked was like embarrassing to look back, and like you could say that about anything. So it's tricky, but
like my first pro model, the Trainwreck. I mean, I started yo-yoing modern yo-yo in like 2005, and then that came out in like 2008. So what is that, 3 years?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't regret that yo-yo because it was after I won Worlds and Nationals, and like that was the one exception I just gave, and not because of me, but just in general, where like I could see someone getting really good really quick, and then that would negate taking a decade of inspiration and influence for you to be able to make a yo-yo. But like, it was definitely like a first design, you know what I mean? It wasn't like something that, like, we thought about it a lot and did 2 rounds of prototypes, and like I thought it was good, but like literally as soon as it came out, it was right around the same time the 888 and everything was coming out too, so it immediately got outshone. Like, it wasn't,
that was a weird time, a great yo-yo technology too. So
right, it was either like you're making a yo-yo factory yo-yo, which is up here, or everything else, which is like mid-tier, because like nobody else was making stuff as good of quality. I think what more damage it causes is it takes money away from like manufacturers who actually contribute to the community, because people are just hungry to buy things, you know what I mean? And especially so many of the people that start companies are people who like see it as an opportunistic, like, oh, well, I already am popular in this Discord or this forum or whatever. So it's like, oh, all these people would buy one, or like at least 50 of these people would buy one. And then it just takes 2 or 3 waves of you doing that to spread it to 100 people, to 150 people, to 200 people. And which is great. Like anybody that can make money off yo-yo, I guess, should make it. But it's just, and especially if those people are supporting yo-yo. But I just feel like it's so few and far between what people actually kind of contribute back into the community versus just like, all right, cool, I'm going to make something. And then it's not even a lot of money. You know what I mean? To make a significant amount of money on yo-yo, you would have to sell like 200 to 300 pieces direct. Mm-hmm. And even then, that's like, unless you're doing that you'd have to do that 5-6 times a year to make the minimum, the median income in America, to make like $50,000-$60,000, and even then, after you take out taxes for what you'd make off selling 1,000 yo-yos a year direct, it's like you could live off of it, but it's not going to be comfortable. Like I don't
selling, like packing 200, it's a lot. It's more work than you think. Like
you need to do it at a Caribou Lodge level, a yo-yo factory level, like one of the bigger manufacturers. Like most other people are just doing it as supplemental income, which is great, but they need to treat it as such and not.
I definitely have a skewed view, like a hippie kind of view with that too, because I did spend so long yo-yoing without getting any money at all, or like anything. I didn't even get a signature. I got like nothing from it.
That's just how it was back in the day. You know what I mean?
That's just how it was, and I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that like to see people come in, it's hard not to feel some type of way to see someone come in after a year and start selling yo-yo. Like,
oh yeah, it's natural to feel that way. You know,
I think it is natural, but I know some people would be like, oh, well, what's the problem, man? If he can do it, and it's like fine. But there's some part of me that's like, I put so much into this. Like, I tried to contribute in the ways I could by like posting videos and things and tutorials and like whatever. So for a long ass time.
And that's another reason why the Dunk is so popular in the Dunk series, is because you have literally 15 years of sweat equity dedicated into the community before you made anything. And like,
so I did put a lot into it that beyond what you see on my Instagram. Like, I've been at this for a long time.
The tricks you made back in the day, a lot of them are still relevant or inspired people's tricks now. And that's something that I love to bring up to younger yo-yo players when they talk about like a wave or like having motion or something. And I'm like, Kendrick Lamar, like Good Kid, Mad City, has now been on the Billboard 200, the 200 best-selling albums in the country for like 13 years now.
Just
or 12
today,
years.
It was Apple Music released.
It's in their like top 10 albums, right?
Yeah, it's on there. It's crazy. They chose Lauryn Hill,
and it's
their number.
It's a very good album, though.
Yeah,
the Miseducation.
No, it is. It's just, you can tell they're trying to like start conversation a little bit with their
all
choices.
Those lists always do that. Yeah,
it was cool.
But that Kendrick album is like timeless. So like when you create timeless tricks or timeless art, a timeless design, then people will continue to want it, and it's going to continue to hit no matter what. You know.
Yeah.
I was talking to it. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say all that to say like there's more to it than just being like having a yo-yo idea or like I want to do this color and have this like theme for my brand. I mean that stuff is part of it, but like if you really I think want to last as like a yo-yo company or like selling yo-yos, you do need there's more to it than just starting an Instagram page and like posting a yo-yo you made. You know what I mean? There can be.
Yo-yo is very tiresome and deflated right now for that reason where like there are a lot of releases, but also the way that people promote their releases, it's just like, look at my trick circle in my bedroom and that's it. It's rarely even like a trick circle that's like, oh, we're at the park or like we're going to make a fun video with all the homies or like, look, we're at Yo-Yo Club and everyone's trying it out or like there's no story or lineage to it. And like it's funny because back in the day there was less events, less product, less anything than ever, but maybe because of that and because it was so hard to make a video, the people who made videos, they were so impactful.
Put stuff
you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like so many of those classic old videos, like the ones that we did, Mickey's House and 2004 Nationals, all these videos are like
fidget.
So fun. Yeah. Is that what you used for inspiration for the chopsticks?
Did you notice the reference?
Yeah.
I do the wince when I pick up the dice. I was hoping someone would notice that.
When you first started, when I first was watching the video, I was like, is he really going to do stop motion for like 45 more seconds? That would be insane.
No, that was fun. I made that song and like, I just had fun filming that last night. I wanted to do something really like disturbing and weird.
We should interview Spencer for the pod next time.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting. I keep trying to get Seth on and he's like genuinely a busy guy, but
yeah.
Spencer's just chilling right now, so he's working on his portfolio.
Let's do that. But and then as far back to her question, like it is interesting to think about all the people who might have like painted peaks in their closet in a shoebox.
Yeah.
And not real or in their attic or
and they don't even realize that it's like
vapes.
Couple
like they
grand,
come up on BST every couple of years. Some guy, just a random guy, like I quit yo-yoing 15 years ago. Yeah. Here's a mint box vape. What's this worth? It's like $2,000.
It's absurd. Yeah.
So that's just something that'll always happen because it happens in any hobby. But you are right in saying that yo-yoing smaller community, so there's less yo-yos made. So like you said with video games, a small run of video games is like 50,000 copies, or a small run of vinyl records. Like I think Nirvana's first single, the Love Buzz single, goes for like tens of thousands of dollars now, but I think they made 5,000 of them.
5,000 something crazy.
So, and they're all numbered and shit.
Yeah.
So, but that's like a lot compared. There's not 5,000 of very many yo-yos. So
especially back then, it's like there was a lot more record stores, and it's like every record store is going to take 20, 24 of them, whatever. So like, but yo-yos, like it's
so it's just a difference in
very
quantity.
very few yo-yo stores are buying more than like a handful of each color or something, you know what I mean? Like they'll buy 40, 50 yo-yos, but they might only buy 8 of each color or 7 of each color, or it's really only like Andre or Yo Tricks or Yo-Yo Expert, Yo Tricks, Rewind. They're in Spin Gear, like they're the stores that'll buy like 15, 20 of like a really hot color of a really good yo-yo or whatever the case may be.
So big picture, yo-yos in general are extremely scarce and but community level looking at it, it's like there's plenty. I mean I must own 100 dunks, like just extra leftovers.
Are they in those boxes up there?
I got like a couple of every color of every
really?
yo-yo just to have, and I'll like sell. Sometimes someone wants one to like complete a collection, whatever. So like
I wish I would have saved a handful of each recess yo-yo. I have a lot of them, but not all of them.
I've been getting lazier. I still do it, but I try to keep like one of every sticker I make and like different designs and stuff too. But and I gotta remember to set aside the gummy dice colors. I want to have all those. But
the demographic of the average yo-yoer, like we are a very intelligent community for the most part. Like even people who we might make fun of and be like, oh, what an idiot, like they're still a lot smarter than the average person. So it's like there's a reason why so many people end up making their own yo-yos because like it's easier for someone.
There's a shitload of like engineers and computer tech wizards,
people who look at something and are just like, oh, I could make one of these, like cool, and just end up doing it. But I guess overall you should just have a reason to make a yo-yo.
Yeah.
Like you should.
It comes down to intention.
The intention, like
yeah.
you were saying, yeah. Where if you create
I
with
think
intent, then like you're gonna have better results than just
that's
like
very
making
important.
something.
You could almost compare it to like if someone this is a weird comparison, but like imagine someone creating music with the intent of making money from it. Like that music might end up really formulaic or like boring.
Just pop music,
but
basically.
yeah, like basically.
Yeah.
And then, but someone who just is like inspired for whatever reason or is trying to express something or say, you know what I'm trying to say.
No, for
like,
sure, yeah.
Just it can be you can end up with a better final product or a product that's going to go down in history like looked at better.
Yeah.
If you aren't just doing it as a business or to make a quick buck or whatever it may be.
And I think people maybe look at it comes in waves too, right? Where like for a few years there won't be as many fly by night companies or whatever, and then all of a sudden it feels like every time there's like a new kind of like internal wave of yo-yo popularity, then within like 6 months there'll be a wave of like new little brands that pop up. They're like, oh, look at this yo-yo, look at that yo-yo.
Yeah.
And I think because they see a successful version of it and they're like, oh man, people are making money off of this. Like, cool, it's all right, I'll make one shit. Like,
right.
It doesn't help that a lot of the Chinese manufacturers are like obsessively emailing people like, hey, do you want to make a yo-yo? We love your business.
Yeah.
Like, we can make a yo-yo for you. We can design it. We can do all this stuff.
I forget if I said it on the last pod. Apologies if I did, but FPM, who I used to make all my latest yo-yos, got a new salesperson who DM'd me and they're like, we love those dunks and stuff you're making. We would love to work with you. I'm like, you made all the and they like laughed and they're like, oh, sorry, my bad.
The same thing happened to me. Like I have that prototype yo-yo I was showing you, and then I got a DM from their new salesperson like 2 weeks ago, and I just ignored it because they're
going for it. They're doing their research. They found the right people to ask.
FPM is also the only shop that's starting to make other shit too. Like they make I don't know what else, but they post like different metal parts from time to time of other things they make.
No, they sent out a thing around New Year's that like photos of their shop. It was cool, and they got a bunch of new CNC.
That's
lathes.
awesome.
Like they doubled their capacity like this year, so they're going hard over there. I would love to visit that shop. That's like really a goal of mine is to take a business trip to China.
Really?
Yeah, I would love just to do it. I don't care, even if it's to like look at it.
Yeah, I wanted to go
take a vacation in China.
Yeah, when I went to Japan for Worlds last time, because I was like, oh, I'm already on a 12-hour flight. I might as well try. But like, I just like the last minute, I'm like, it's gonna cost money to get a visa, and you got to apply for a visa.
I would
like
fit it into a regular vacation,
right?
I mean? But like maybe I could time it. Like, can I like hit up the Anno factory with you guys? Like, I don't know, something just to like see my yo-yos get anodized.
Yeah,
it would be interesting.
It's cool. Have you seen the C3 videos that they put out with like Simpsons spraying yo-yos? I love that. Which is crazy because like I used to I didn't do the anodizing for Yo Factory, but I would take them to the anodizer and I would splash them and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not how we did it. Like, that's not how it was done previously. Like, they sprayed acid on the yo-yos, but it wasn't like spraying the actual color on the yo-yos. So I wonder if that has anything to do with
different subtle variations.
Yeah.
Splashes used to look different for sure.
And the acid wash and stuff. Like C3 has the most variety of colors because Simpson is there actually doing it himself. But like some of them turn out better than others for sure. So
right.
Good question though.
Yeah,
Can you think of anything else to cover on that? What else did they really say?
Let me see here.
Just like what did we think about the quantity of yo-yos made, how big the community is,
people who might have like rare stuff. They asked if there's going to be stuff in a decade that are at the level of a Peak or a Babezilla or a Woolly Marmot.
Oh, yeah. That also will...
That just happens, yeah.
Time will tell, but it's like... The reason that a lot of those yo-yos are so rare, I think there may have been 200 or 300 original painted Peaks. There weren't that many, right?
I think less than that even. I think there was maybe 100.
Like, the Bape was... because maybe
250.
Yo-Yo Nation did have all 100 pieces of the
painted Peaks were sold through Yo-Yo Nation.
Okay,
that's where I got one. Yeah.
I swear there was more Bapes. I swear there was at least like 500 because it used to be like Yo-Yo Guy would get 100, Yo-Yo Nation would get 100, Dave Skill Toys would get like 100 or 80 or whatever, and then Joe Mitchell at Mitchell's would be like, oh, can I get 5 or can I get 10 of them or something? And he'd be like begging for those 10. Like,
let me pull up Anteo's website.
And they used to sell out in like 2 or 3 days too, which is even crazier to think about. Like,
yeah,
that would be like a skate shop selling Dunks now, where it's like, all right, we got 50 pairs of these, and they all are just gone in a day, or not even a day or two. They probably get 1,000 raffle entries for the sneakers. Same thing with the yo-yos at the time.
Yeah, I think that's everything they asked, but that was an interesting question for sure.
Yeah, I was curious about this with cars too, because like in the 80s and 70s and 60s there was like less models and variation of automobiles being built.
Yeah,
and it's like for those times, like the Mustang or the Corvette or all these cars that like have really like timeless, unique body styles or whatever, like they're the cars that people like really want nowadays and are collectors, like akin to a Bape or a Peak or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, I was asking Hansa when I worked at Yo-Yo Factory, I was like, what do you think will be those cars like for this generation? Like, what do you think in 20, 25, 30 years people will be like, oh, remember when this company made this? Because it's like everyone just tries to bite off each other in a way.
I don't think there will be.
There's not, yeah.
Because you can't wrench on cars anymore because they seal the entire engine in plastic or metal. Like,
oh yeah,
a lot of modern cars like are really hard to work on, if not impossible.
They'll just die out, so it's not even like people will want them in 30 years.
It's like planned obsolescence, like everything else. Like washers and dryers, fridges, like the old classic ones just keep working. And you can fix them, and that's why they keep working. But new ones, you just are meant to die, and then you just throw them out and get a new one. So I feel like cars are obviously built to last more than like a fridge, but I don't think there's going to be any, maybe some like weird obscure shit.
Yeah.
But not like, it's not like the 2020 Elantra is ever going to be desirable in the future. Like, it's just, there's no way.
And even the bodies themselves are made out of a lot of plastic and stuff.
All cars are that fucking blue gray color now, or like silver. You know what I mean? Like that powder darkish blue. Like, I see so many. Every car looks the fucking same, man. And they're all either crossovers. I see so many Altimas, like millions of all the same shit.
Kias, Nissans, Civics.
Yeah, classic cars are crazy. It's cool that stuff even happened, like that there was a time where they were all so uniquely different looking and like pushing each other to do weirder shit with like headlights.
Again, it all comes down to intention. Like
they were artists, those guys.
Yeah,
like they actually cared about aesthetics. Now it's about like how quickly and cheaply can we make this body,
1 million of them,
and it's also like, you know, ergonomically whatever, good for gas mileage, everything else. Like those old muscle cars are not designed with any intention of being good gas like getting good aerodynamics like at all, like the opposite.
Again, like it goes back to intention, where like, to talk about yo-yos, like the Bape, the Peak, all these yo-yos had like months and months and months of planning and like design work put into them, and like thoughts and ideas and like little tweaks here and there of like, oh, we're gonna package it like this and release it on this date and put it out then, and like there's more to it. And it's like nowadays not a lot of yo-yos are really released with intention. It's just like, oh, we got to put out a yo-yo every 2 or 3 months, so we're just gonna put it out. That's kind of how Yo-Yo Factory lost its cool, and same with Caribou Lodge. Like Caribou Lodge is still very cool, but like when they started putting out a yo-yo like every 6 weeks, it just got lost in the sauce. And like now it's
Yo-Yo Factory, I feel like their promotion is so weak, and it's like, on a certain level, I guess they don't have to promote. They just drop stuff on stores and it sells, which is great.
Sometimes it doesn't. There's a lot of, if you look at Yo-Yo Expert, half of their shit is on sale.
They did that incredible World Championship series last summer.
Yeah, that Yo-Yo Factory series could have been a lot better, to be honest. Well, I don't know. This is probably a little bit nitpicky, but they may not have posted about it just because people would have been like, why didn't you do this with Jensen? Like, why couldn't you get Jensen to do a collab with you? Like, why are you collabing with SF, Mal, Caribou Lodge, and every other base camp company, but you can't like do one with John Ando? Like, it kind of ruins the story when it comes to those. I'm sure we've talked about this on previous podcasts, or maybe we just talk about it a lot in our friend group. But it like you really are. That's a huge part of why it's called the Champions Collection, and it's like you're missing the people who made the yo-yo
the
what
actual
it was.
champions,
right? The actual champions. Thank you.
Yeah,
and
you release a superstar or North Star,
and I mean,
just like literally Jensen's yo-yo.
Jensen would never work with them again. Yuki
Obviously.
would
probably be.
It'd be hard to convince him to, you know what I mean? And then who else? Ando would have. Ando made one post about it, but it's like. He's great. He's still technically on the team. He's actually posted tricks the last 2 years, every few months. It's like, I don't understand why they wouldn't have just thrown his signature. They even did the colorway that he won it with, like the white and blue and everything. And who else? Did they do Loop 720s or anything with Shu?
No, it was all one yo.
Okay.
So it was Miracle, whatever, Evan, yo-yo, and then
and then they can't do Evan because of the controversy.
Yeah.
Even though I think Evan just did a run of yo-yos that has the Yo-Yo Factory logo on it.
Oh yeah, it's not a secret that it's his brand, whatever it's called,
Distributed
Edge,
by Yo-Yo Factory.
but it's made and distributed and sold and produced and designed. It's just semantics or whatever the word is.
Yeah, man, you can buy Mein Kampf off Amazon.
That's wild. Can you?
I'm sure you can.
Jesus.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I think I've looked at that because I used to make that joke about every time I'd see someone, like one of our friends who's like very liberal, when they had an art yo-yo, I would just be like, oh, no, you can just buy Mein Kampf on Amazon. You don't got to get it imported from Canada.
Oh, no. Next question?
Yeah, next question. That was a really good one, though.
Yeah, it was. Thank you, Junie. Right. Next one. Is this it? Yes, here we go.
Yo, what's going on, Radio Yo-Yo? Just a question for y'all for the podcast, and it is, where do you think your favorite place to throw is? Thanks so much for listening, and love the pod. Keep it up. Peace.
Thank you for listening. Mystery. Don't know who this is, but thank you for calling. What is our favorite place to throw?
I mean, I'll yo-yo anywhere now, unless it's like in a very crowded place. Yeah. Because that's like, inappropriate's the perfect word for it, because some people are so yo-brained. Like, I love when you go to contests and everyone's just
at contests.
Yo-yoing like, at the restaurant.
At a restaurant, and stand up in the middle of the meal and start yo-yoing, and like waiters are squeezing behind.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, how are you not embarrassed as fuck right now?
Like parents yell at their children when they're like running
yeah.
around, and it's like you're just standing there totally ignoring anyone.
It's
to
not
the free world.
Always quiet. Like yo-yos can be loud as fuck.
Yeah.
And you can hit shit with it if you're not paying attention. You can hit people, and like you just gotta be spatially aware. Just you gotta, if there's wait staff around you, like don't just wait and do it outside the restaurant. Like, you know, like
the most unaware yo-yoer is Chandler Steele. Have you ever been somewhere with him? He'll like, we would have been like, for example, in that Wahlburgers after NER, and he would like be throwing horizontal tricks, like doing it around his neck. And like every time we would stay over Andre's house, Andre would have to be like, hey dude, can you like get away from my TV? Because like you're just inching close. Like, I'm not gonna hit it, man. And it's like, but I just would really like to not feel guilty about being like, hey, bud, can you throw me $400 to give me half of what a new TV costs? Like, I had crazy footage of him one year at NER doing that. And he was just like he was doing like sideways open whip binds and then like throwing them around the other direction. And someone's mom walks by and it literally goes and like drifts by her face and swings up her hair. Like her hair, you can see it, like it looks like it's blowing in the wind, but it's the yo-yo like grabbing onto it. And I'm like, I would be telling him like every take, I'm like, dude, can you please like be careful? Hold on. There's a person coming. Whatever. Yeah. And he just was like so spatially unaware.
You gotta be careful. You can fuck someone up with a yo-yo to the face, dude.
Oh yeah. One time we were at a restaurant after MWR, and we were eating Chinese food, and there was like another table and everyone was standing up yo-yoing and being annoying, and they were asking Seth, like, or Seth was like, for some reason being like very, which he can still be like this, but he was just like very playful and like went over to their table and like started doing tricks for them and like did a bunch of cool stuff. And he made some kind of funny comment about like them paying for his dinner or something, which they did, but like he was like, oh, I can knock a quarter off for your ear, and I was like, no, he can't. Like, this is crazy. Like, are you serious? And then he put a quarter on the guy's ear with a vape and then started doing like boomerang at his face to do it. Yeah. And he like hit him in the back of the head a couple times. Like, it like rolled over the back of the guy's head, and it was just so funny. And I was like, oh my God, this is horrifying. Like, and they still paid for his dinner though. It was very funny.
I used to, when I drank, and then also when I went to bars, which is like way back, I would, and when I smoked cigarettes, I would go out for a smoke break, and sometimes if I was drunk enough, I would like do the trick of like hitting the ash off someone's cigarette.
Oh,
like,
really?
Whip it in there. Yeah,
that's
but
cool.
Not quarter on the ear. I don't do that shit. But cigarettes easier because if you fuck up, you're just breaking a cigarette. You're not hitting someone in the head.
When I first turned 21, like I would yo-yo in public, but it wasn't like oh, I'm going out to the bar and like I'm gonna yo-yo or whatever, but it was like being like a weird short guy and like not like if you go to a bar and it's like a fucking college bar or whatever and everyone is like a young spry cute 19-year-old guy or girl, it's like I'm not trying to stand out here, you know what I mean? If I'm talking to a girl, it's a different story, but I'm not gonna walk up to some random girl and be like, hey, what's up? But like it was crazy because like a few times like that did happen, and it would be in Arizona when I turned 21. Maybe it always eventually comes up like, oh, what do you do for work, or what's your job? And it's like, oh, I work at this yo-yo company. They're like, oh, for real? Like, that's so cool, that's awesome. And then I would like have a yo-yo on me and be like, yeah, I'm world champion, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God. Like, it was such an easy way to get girls for like 2 years. It was literally the craziest thing because growing up, like pre-Obama administration or more so pre-broadband internet, it was like people looked at yo-yo like it was so weird. Like I remember people coming to Mitchell's and like occasionally being like, what is this gay thing that you're doing? And it's like, bro, what are you talking about? That's not even like funny or cool.
In high school or like middle school when I started, I got called yo-yo F slur like a lot.
Yeah, I would never yo-yo in high school because of that.
No
it was
way.
only after I won Worlds and was on like the cover of the local paper, and the school posted it like in all the hallways, and I was like, yo, you really do this shit? That's crazy. And like they accepted it just because I was probably really good at it, and like I was just quiet and like
eventually you get older and you can own it and it doesn't matter. But I was like an awkward kid, you know. And it's like I had no confidence behind it, so even though I was good at it, it was
I eventually
easy target.
Stopped yo-yoing at the bar, because it was just like you're asking for
I
people to
don't
look at you like a weirdo. And
I would only it would be outside the bar at a smoke break. Like I would be smoking a cigarette and maybe pull it out and fuck with some people.
It's like equivalent to like a college party where like someone pulls the guitar off the wall and starts playing Wonderwall. And it's like, bro, what are you doing right now?
And like I'll yo-yo at work to this day, which is weird as a 30-year-old man, but I work at a small company, so it's a handful of guys, and like when someone new comes in, like we have a new part-timer or whatever, the first time they see it, obviously they're always like, what the fuck? And they have questions and I show them and stuff. But then like I sometimes even like verbally like make it clear, like I'm not doing this to like, I don't bring the yo-yo out to like show people or get attention, or like I'm not doing this as like a it's like a thing I literally do mindlessly. Like
it's meditation, really.
It really is for me. I am a fidgety guy, as you can see me sitting here, and like it's just a nice thing to do, and I don't smoke anymore. I don't do it, so like that's what I do on my little breaks and shit. And
if you have
it's just nicer because some people are just nice people and they feel like, oh, he's doing something cool, and they like want to feel like they should like check it out or watch or get involved, and like that's fine if they want to, but I try to make it clear that that's never like expected or even wanted, really.
Right.
Like, you can just ignore it, and then time goes by and everyone, they don't even like notice. Like
Right,
they don't
yeah.
bat an eye. I can be talking to the guys at work and like no one gives a shit. And that's how I like it, honestly. Like,
Right, yeah.
That's what I like.
Because you're doing it for yourself. You're
absolutely
not-
100%. I'm just the kind of person, I'm never really doing it to show off unless I'm with other yo-yoers and we're trying to share tricks or whatever.
Right.
But,
Yo-yo, I think, is like how alcohol will just like let you unfortunately be like your true self, or like just make it very loose and easy to say like whatever you
yeah.
want to. It's just gonna like bring out your true identity a lot of the time, like, which is why people make like crazy racial statements when they're drunk, because they're just like, I've been thinking about this or whatever. And it's like, maybe you shouldn't, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I used to say, and I still believe this, like I think that's how yo-yo is, where like if you're kind of like a weird closed off person, like yo-yo can definitely help you be a weird closed off person even more. But if you're like kind of an extrovert or you want to share things with people, it can go either way. It's really whatever you make it, but it's just like, it's like a social liberator in a way where I don't know. We still haven't really answered the question where our favorite place. You yo-yo a lot at work, which is cool.
As an adult, I think my favorite place I'm at work most days 8 hours, so that's where I'm at all day. So I do a lot of it, my yo-yoing there. And I'd say probably like early morning when I'm first at work and I'm like highly caffeinated after like some coffee, I'm like have energy, it's the morning, then I like, that's usually when I'll film a trick or like just have my best little like 20-minute yo-yo sesh, just like first thing in the morning on coffee, feeling good. You know? When I get home from work, like I don't yo-yo very much at all. I'm tired. Like I don't really yo-yo at home all that much. Unless it's the morning before work, I'll do that too. But so I'd say the morning, wherever I happen to be at, it's usually at work.
It's also just like when you're so good at yo-yoing like we are, or any other pros, it's like, not to sound conceited, but like it's harder to like be excited. Like you like yo-yoing, but you just go on autopilot so much versus like when we were 16, like really cutting our teeth and still learning stuff. It's like you get so thirsty in your brain trying to be like, all right, I want to figure this out, or I want to learn this new trick. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, I don't know. That's one thing, the neuroplasticity of yo-yoing, like your ability to make neurological connections in your brain. Like it happens naturally when you're a kid, which is probably another reason why when you're younger, it's like so much more enjoyable to yo-yo. It's very enjoyable as an adult too, but it's like you have to yo-yo with intention. That's the word of this podcast.
And my periods of having the energy to yo-yo with intention are shorter as I get older. So like it is the morning. I'm more productive at everything in the morning. If I'm playing guitar, I'm like grinding and learning, or if I'm yo-yoing, that's the time I can be like, I'm going to work on something new. But if I'm just yo-yoing after work or like to chill, it's autopilot and I'm not actually like accomplishing anything.
Yeah.
It's just doing the same shit I've been doing forever.
Yeah. Especially during the summer, like it's kind of crazy to think about when I'm working at like a camp. If I have like 2 camps a day and I'm at a camp from like 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., like I'm literally yo-yoing for like an hour straight. And if I'm not like actually yo-yoing, it's like I'm looking at kids yo-yoing and messing up and being like, oh no, you got to hold your arm like this, like let me show you how to do it, or like, oh, you learned that trick, like let's learn forward pass. And by the end of the summer, like I'm just so
burnt out.
Burnt out. But it's like a weird, Pat Mitchell and I used to talk about this, where like it almost like just tweaks that little part of your brain where like it's like a tease and you are just doing the simplest stuff all day long, that like as soon as you get your hands on like an actual unresponsive yo-yo and you can like grind and put in some work, you like really want to like flex those brain muscles of like, oh, like I can still do this, this is fun, this is cool. It's just like a weird tease. I don't know. The one
that
year
makes sense.
That he did really well at Worlds was a year that he was on tour with Hasbro and like just going all over the country doing demos at malls and at schools and stuff like that. And then he got to Worlds and was like perfectly tuned up and practiced and had just been doing basic 2A the whole summer, and then like getting back to the hotel and actually like doing what he wanted to do. So
that's
like,
just great like advice almost for anyone who's a little uninspired or burnout, because I've never done like shows and stuff, but I've gone through periods where I'll play with either like a responsive fixed axle yo-yo for a period of weeks, or just like a shitty yo-yo.
Yeah.
Like something that's old or not good. And then I do get like a rush switching back to something I really like.
Yeah.
Like I'm not, and like it does kick it into like, oh shit, now I can do this. Like you could do more and you're more inspired to push things because you've been held back a little bit.
Yeah, Gentry and Brandon Vu talk about using miniature yo-yos to practice their freestyles on, because it like makes you really lock in and focus and like land everything, and then by the time you switch back to like
it's so easy,
a
it's
47,
the same as using
48
a heavy baseball bat,
millimeter wide yo-yo. Yeah, I wouldn't be
so
surprised if that's partially where Gentry got the inspiration from, is some sports kind of shit.
Yeah.
But
it makes sense.
yeah, I did the same thing. Like after I won Worlds and I was working at Mitchell's, I literally just played with a responsive freehand too for like 6 or 7 months. That was the only yo-yo I played with, and like it made my style so much better. It made like my trick like selection and ability to like plan, and like just how like the trick dichotomy, like the subject matter in which was happening in the tricks, like it made it so much more planned and intentional versus
how
just
you compose things and what order you do things in.
Yeah, exactly. Versus just like going off the deep end and doing whatever the hell, or like
I feel like that's an overlook. People are always talking about how do you make up a trick, all this and that, but like just composing a combo or like a throw, like I do it like second nature now, but sometimes I stop and think like, why did I decide? Because I'll be trying to film something and then I'll move something that I was doing at the end to the beginning, because maybe that's something. Sometimes it's something practical, like that's the hardest part of the trick, so I want to get it out of the way first so I can do that.
Yeah.
But other times it's like there's all kinds of different reasons, and it's interesting to think about why you choose that. Is it maybe a string tension issue? You want to do something at the beginning of the trick when your tension is perfect and not at the end, or I don't know. It's just interesting that it's an important part of how you present tricks, is definitely the order. You don't want it to not make sense or the speeds to be like too weird. Just something to think about.
That's something they used to talk about a lot more, I feel like, in like with the serious yo-yoers like Jason Lee, Spencer, Paul. They would all talk about, and Yuki, where it's like tricks should have like a beginning, middle, and end. Like they need like a resolution, or like you can't just like randomly end a trick somewhere, or like a full trick or like a full combo, you know what I mean? And some people still get that, but I don't know if it's because they just watch so many other yo-yoers that they don't even think about it, and it's not really trick theory or yo-yo theory. It's just like, but it is what it is, and you're watching someone, it's like, oh, you end on a green triangle, so that's why I'm ending on a green triangle, or cool bind. Versus like when you think about it in terms of like creative theory, it's like, no, that's a cool resolution. It's like singing a song with like the chord progression being fucked up, like it's not going to sound the same. It's not going to. I love that podcast, Dissect, I think it's called, where they break down like really great music and like why it is good and why it is the way it is.
Show me that after.
Spotify bought it a few years ago, and like they do
good.
I think they did the first Kendrick album. They've done like every Kendrick album, just because it's so
rich to analyze.
There's so much to analyze. Like that is one part I love about the whole beef right now, is like analyzing the Kendrick diss and being like, oh, this is a triple entendre for this reason, and it's like,
no, he sneaks some wild it's insane, especially that last one that he had to have written at least a good chunk of that song like in a day or so. Like it's pretty incredible the things his brain could come up with. Like, that guy's a genius for
Pulitzer Prize winner. I mean,
right. So I'm not saying anything that people don't already know, but all those guys you mentioned, though, Spencer and Paul, and like they definitely yo-yo with intention.
Oh yeah.
And like that's not something that is necessary to be a good yo-yoer, but I think it's worth trying. And because you might get something out of it, and your tricks might be better for it. To just like, you don't have to think about it as beginning, middle, end, and like you can just drop the GT at the end and call it a trick and it'll score better, whatever. But like if you try to yo-yo with intention and think like, instead let's figure out a smooth way to dismount and bring the whole thing together, it can be worth the time.
Right. Most of their like most famous tricks, it's like when we were hanging out with Spencer before PNWR this last time, we were talking to him about breath a lot. And he was specifically mentioning like, oh, I wanted to utilize this one piece of Slack that I had created, or no one had moved a piece of Slack 3D before. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to do that. And then this like last star mount or heart mount or whatever it was, it's like he wanted to fit those two things in a trick. And it's like, so we went in planning it like that. And good tricks happen over time too. I think people don't realize that, where they come up with something and they do it in like a day, or something that like semi feels cool. And it's like, all right, bet, cool. Versus like my best tricks literally took, and like, not to sound crazy, because like a lot of them were like bits and pieces I would make up like years ago. And then I'd be like, this is going in the fodder of the back of my brain to pull out one day. But like some of my best tricks, some of the dismounts and stuff, where pieces of them are like upwards of 10 years old when I actually made them up, because it was just like, this is so good and I know one day this is gonna piece together somewhere, but I don't have the right opportunity for it yet. And then sure enough, like a decade later, is like, damn. That
goes back to the autopilot thing. Like that stuff's important to store away, because I'm exactly the same way. Like I'll have one move that is fun and interesting, but I'll just do it on autopilot for 6-8 years, and then eventually I'll do something else that I realize the mount lands where that move can go from it. So then suddenly like I'm building on it, and then it can become a full trick or whatever. But
yeah, that would be a great thing to talk to Spencer about, is yo-yo theory, and Seth too. But
we gotta get both of them on. ASAP.
Yeah.
I think we got one more question. Good questions.
Yeah, great questions so far. It's kind of nice that we only got a handful, because I couldn't imagine getting like 5 and being like, I don't know, my favorite place to yo-yo is the bank. All right, later.
The bank.
When we were kids, that used to be like, not the bank, but everyone would be like, I love yo-yo because you can do it anywhere. In the post office, in the bank, at the grocery store. It's like, you're a grown man. What are you doing? Like, help your wife pick out the fucking meat for the week, bro.
All right, last question.
So here's my question. Do you think that the level of skill is the number one thing holding yo-yos back from being more popular items just in general? Or do you think that there's some other reason that yo-yos have remained relegated to a fad or niche item?
That's Steve Brown.
Steve sounds so much like my dad. It's truly crazy. Like,
yeah, he does. You're right. I do remember your dad's voice. That's interesting.
I went to hang out with him a little bit today because he's getting divorced. Again.
That was a trick.
My mom, he got divorced from, and then his second wife died, his widower, and now his third wife left. Well,
where's he living now? Jersey,
Delaware.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is he retired?
No, he'll still be retired within the next like 4 or 5 years or something. But
wow,
because I think when you're a cop, you can retire after 25 years, but you only get like a certain amount of your pension. But then if you work till like 30 or 60 years old or 30 years or 60 years old or whatever, then you get like 90% or 95% of your pension or something.
Worth
crazy.
it.
So yeah, exactly. And he's just like doing desk jobs at this point. He's not actually a beat cop anymore.
Wilmington?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy. A few weeks ago.
That was probably gnarly, like when he was younger, maybe. Or
yeah, I mean, it's still
Wilmington's
pretty gnarly, I guess, but like it's not Philadelphia or anything crazy.
Right.
But yeah, they're having problems like finding everywhere is understaffed. Well, I don't know. It's very contentious debate, but like because every police force is like, we need more cops, we don't have enough cops, and then everyone's like, abolish the police. It's like, we can't get a police response anywhere when anything actually goes wrong, but yeah, I guess we should abolish them too. I don't know. There's a lot of talk right now about these huge opioid settlements that we're getting. A lot of that money is going to be
see all the Rite Aids closing. That's why.
Really?
They got a huge lawsuit for filling scripts without doing their due diligence. Yeah. It's related to that,
which is crazy. It's not their fault. I mean, it kind of halfway.
I mean, I'm sure some of it's just
it's a systematic failure too.
But they got hit with like $multi-million.
Like every doctor that overprescribed them should also be.
They should all be fucking dead,
right?
Like, but yeah. The Rite Aid down the street closed where I get my shit filled.
Damn.
And but they had literally the entire store 50% plus off. So I just got like all the like random like pharmacy staple, like shit
Yeah.
that you don't think about, but like half off. It was
Yeah.
kind of nice. Stocked up on some shit. What were we talking about?
Give me all of this dog oxycodone, please.
Yeah.
Steve's question about, so basically he's saying, why do we think yo-yo isn't more popular? Is it because the tricks are too difficult?
Yeah.
Sid Rodrigo Perez, the best yo-yoer in the last 20 years, who you should look up on YouTube.
For real.
One of the best. Sid's amazing.
Really good.
He told, it's everyone in yo-yoing loves to compare yo-yoing to skateboarding for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's like skateboarding is like heavy metal, where it's like dangerous and punk rock and fun. You're like getting into people's way and like
You
getting in
can,
the way
and
of
people
traffic.
do die skateboarding.
Right.
Like-
You're destroying property. Like yo-yo is inherently like pretty chill overall. So it's like
yeah.
skateboarding is like a bad comparison, but like that's why something like skateboarding is, because people want to do things that they're not allowed to do. So it's like skateboarding kind of appeals to them in that way. And that's, I don't know. It's an interesting reason why it's in the Olympics, or why so many skate parks get built, and why so many people who are professional skateboarders don't like to go to skate parks to get like footage to put in videos, because it's like not true to the core of skateboarding.
Right.
It's hard to say why yo-yoing isn't more popular, because I don't know. I used to say that a lot about recess, so that was one of the reasons I named recess was because most people who yo-yo are treating it like a recess from their regular life. It's not like they're picking up a yo-yo with the intention of like, I'm going to be the next Gentry. I'm going to be the next Yuki. I'm going to get really good at this. They're just like, oh, this is something enjoyable and fun, and I can collect them, and they're kind of cool, and whatever the case may be. It's like the same difference of how like when those vape mods got really popular, it became like a collector's market almost, or like every time people got them, it's like, oh, check out my new blah, blah, blah mod box shit. I think that's a big reason, is because tricks are hard and difficult. And that's a big reason why DNA was so popular, is because it's such a visual trick. It's the same reason why Walk the Dog or Rock the Baby are so popular, is because you can look at it and be like, oh wow, oh my gosh, look what's happening with it. Like still to this day, other than DNA, the trick that gets the most reception that I do for kids is elevator.
Oh wow.
Like straight up. And it's so funny because I'll be doing like shoot the moon. I do like a shoot the moon between my legs. I'll do like the star and hold it down like the whole row of kids. And then I'll just throw elevator and kids will be like, oh my God, look at it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Even more than boingy boing.
And
Mach
it's adults
5.
too.
Yeah.
Like you have to treat everyone who's not a yo-yo like a kid level base.
Yeah.
It's easy to forget because we're so obsessed that it's like everything we're doing in front of us makes sense, but to them it all looks the fucking same.
It looks crazy. Yeah.
It looks stupid and like nothing.
It looks like Japanese or Spanish or something if you don't speak those
I'll try
languages.
elevator next time, but my go-to is usually just like a nice
arm
smooth
grind,
long arm
yeah.
grind, like having it sit there. I'm like, especially when people ask to walk the dog, I'll be like, yeah, my, do it on my arm instead.
Grinds are sick. That's
people
what
like that
got me into modern yo-yo, was seeing grinds.
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
If you only knew about responsive yo-yos and then you saw like Johnny's 2003 Worlds freestyles,
Literally
you'd
the
be like, what
first
the hell is this?
That was my first Worlds freestyle I ever saw, and he does great grinds in it, and that combined with how shiny his fucking Hitman is in that freestyle.
Oh yeah.
It's so goddamn shiny. Like they aren't that shiny.
No, they don't come that
at
shiny.
all.
Yeah.
He must have polished the rims.
He used to polish
probably
all
had
of his
Mo
rims,
polish.
yeah.
Yeah. So looks so good. He's got this shiny, tiny diameter, small little thing, and he's just like so much control that dude has. It made it look like something beyond yo-yo. So very exciting. But yeah, Eli hops, boingy boing sometimes gets a reaction, but usually like big Eli hops and arm grinds.
And you
people
got to do it for like 10 reps. Because like the first 4 or 5, like
They're
people
like,
aren't
"What
even
you
really
doing?" Yeah,
registering
yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah.
And then after like the 5th or 6th, I'm like, oh, it's like hopping off the shit. It's going all the way out there. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's funny.
Gyro flop is another good one where it's like, oh my God, the yo-yo's flipping over. And
that's
like, it looks like you're harnessing like a Kamehameha or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
You're like, oh.
Pull it really tight. Make
Yeah.
a face.
I did gyro flop the other day to try to. I was just in the kitchen doing gyro flops.
Did gyro flop the other day. It's pretty sick.
It was. I was like, I did it on a firecracker, and because I had like lubed the bearing, and I must have done like 16 of them. Not even exaggerating. Like all sequential. They were just.
Some yo-yos are really good for.
Yeah.
Some yo-yos just flop.
I was trying to wear the lube in, and I was just like, God damn, like this would be a really cool reel to do just like 16 gyro flops.
Yo, don't bite Andre's steeds, dude.
Right, yeah.
He does it in front of him though. He's like, he pulls it back like a bow and arrow. That shit's
Bro.
You gotta wear sunglasses indoors too.
I was teaching Pierce, his kid, some tricks one day.
Yeah.
And I taught him how to do gyro flop.
No.
I taught Andre's kid how to do gyro
the
flop,
fuck,
right?
Andre, you're slacking.
I
dude.
know, but so I'm teaching Pierce for like in the back of the stock room at A to Z, the toy store Andre owns, Yo-Yo Expert. Not Yo-Yo Expert. Andre Bullock owns Yo-Yo Expert, but he also owns a toy store called A to Z. I'm explaining for the viewer, they don't know. And I'm like teaching Pierce how to do gyro flop, and then Andre comes back. He's like, "Oh, like what tricks are you guys working on?" And like he showed his dad a few tricks, and he's actually really good, Pierce. Like he can learn really quick. But then he does gyro flop. He's like, "Oh wow, you taught him gyro flop? That's awesome!" I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't even think about that." But Pierce, like, your dad used to be like the king of this trick, man. And Andre just like took the yo-yo from Pierce, like, check it out. Like, I did like 10 of them, and Pierce was like. Like it blew his mind. It was
That's
so
wild.
funny. But I didn't even think about like the weird dichotomy of like
that
teaching the guy who used to be the fucking king of that trick. He used to do it in a
that's
freestyle.
cool.
Do you remember when he would do in the middle of a freestyle just do like 10 gyro flops? Could you imagine doing that nowadays? Like me or Kim just in the middle of a freestyle, just really quick. That's like 3 quick gyro flops.
Or the Mickey one where he does one and does a 360 spin and then finishes it.
That was such a sick trick too when we were kids.
Yeah.
Because like horizontal yo-yoing was not really a thing yet.
No.
And then to watch him do that, and then like he does like kind of a clean bind out of it, it's like, damn. That's
he also,
awesome.
how does he start? I think he started his first, the first ever sideways Eli hops from a gyro flop too, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he does that.
Kind of
and
rings a
then
bell.
He does them like so hard, like
Yeah.
they're beyond what people do now. But
He's actually stole that though.
did he?
The 360. Well, he actually. I don't know. I'd have to watch the videos or freestyles. I think it actually, because he did it in like 2004 too. I think Mickey, right? The gyro flop trick. But he does like a gyro flop and then he lets it go and does like revolutions with it, or does like 1 or 2. You think he does like forwards and then backwards, and then does the little pinwheel things. But there's a video a year before that in 2003 of Matt Schmidt doing it. And he literally is doing a gyro flop and lets it go and does like 6 or 7 revolutions with it. Yeah.
The little lassos.
Which is crazy to think about. Yeah. Rest in peace, Matt Schmidt. But
one of my favorite yo-yo memories from 2007 is I was hanging around Yuki Spencer before his freestyle.
I'm so glad you're talking about this.
And he someone brought up like Mickey, Mickey has horizontal in his freestyle now. And Yuki, I forget like his words, but he just like had his like kind of laughed, and it was like, yeah, and like we were talking about how Yuki yo-yos, how it's like unreal to watch in person, but like just like the most casual ever is just like, oh, I'm not worried about it, and throws horizontal and does Yuki slack horizontal. He's like, I'm just gonna throw this in. And
I
then
remember
he
that
freestyled like an hour later and did it on stage and beats Mickey and wins worlds. But it's like that was a direct response to like Mickey doing sideways Eli hops and shit. He's like, fuck it, I'll do my signature trick, like one of the best tricks of all time.
I think it may have been because Mickey was going to do horizontal Yuki
I think
slack
you're right.
too.
Yeah.
But then if you won the previous year or you were national champion, you got a seed to finals, and Mickey was like dead last. But then Yuki went
so
like
Yuki
the one
got to
before him
go
or something.
do it first.
Yeah, exactly.
I got the story. Yeah, that's
No,
more
you were right,
what was cool about it.
And I was going to bring it up, like, right. It was very
But it's
Drake,
like an actual dig. Like
Drake
a real
Kanye
beef.
beef.
They had a real beef, and Yuki like was fucking smart to do that. Like it was so cool.
I'll still never forget the pictures after Mickey got second. He's just like,
it's
like, damn, bro, like
on stage,
you're tripping that hard, like
I know, you already won, man.
3 times at that point too, right? 2, 3, 5 and or 04, 05 and 06. Yeah, 3 times back to back. Like, he's still, I forget Some yo-yoer sent me, I think his name is Andy Kim. He sent me a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet of like the most winningest yo-yoers, and like was showing me all. And Mickey's like number 2 or 3 still, just because of like all the titles he
You're
has.
on there,
like,
Shinji. I think
I'm like top 20 or top 30 or something like that. But yeah, I think Mickey is like first. You might second or third. Shinji might be first. I forget.
I think Shinji's still first. Hajame's obviously up there now.
Yeah.
Hank.
Yeah, Hank was surprisingly high up there too, just because not a lot of people win that many titles or national titles, you know, or world titles.
Yeah, that spreadsheet is cool. If it's the same one I'm thinking of, it had they had like the actual stats and then like a point system that they made where it's like every 1A title's worth this much, every whatever, like based on how popular or how big of a deal it is.
That's interesting.
And it ranked them that way too. And I think it was still Shinji, obviously, but yeah.
That is a cool tier list we could do one time of world champions, world and national champions, maybe.
I know. We gotta do,
because that would be less hurtful than because most people are up there, you know what I mean? It's not going to be any lower than like B or C tier.
Yeah.
And the only reason you'd be B or C tier is if like you weren't amazing or you only won one time or something.
Well, Steve's question, I think
thank you for bringing
yo-yoing. We were talking about this a little before off the pod, but it's like I feel like the barrier of entry or whatever is just compared to something like Kendama, or even kind of compared to maybe not skateboarding. Skateboarding can be really hard for people to figure out, but it's just like yo-yoing is a fucking pain in the ass. To some people it comes naturally, but majority of people, like even just learning to throw it is difficult. And then once you get that, then you need to learn the other throw, which is breakaway. And then you got to get consistent and good at those. And then it's like you restart at square one again, because you have to learn to bind. So
it's like a language where like
binding fucking sucks.
Learning some words might be easy for a language, then like connecting them in a sentence and learning which one is the feminine and masculine or past and pretense. And like, that's why English is such a hard language to learn. We have so many homonyms and words that mean the same or sound the same and mean different things. But yeah, there's a huge barrier to entry, like you said, because it's so difficult. And I don't know, maybe if there was less emphasis on like how competitive it was or like getting good, and it was like, because it's still a 1% type of mentality, or like very few people are going to get to a point where they're like proficient and coherent too. Well, there's actually a lot of people who are good, but it's like, you know, the majority of people, I would still say it's like 1% of yo-yoers are going to be like an expert level, or to a level where it's like you're amazing and able to do so much crazy cool shit. Like it's pretty rare that like a Tyler Vienu or someone comes out of nowhere and it's like, damn, you're like a fully formed player that has like their own style and trick language, and like no one even watched you yo-yo before this
even
point.
Him, it took a while. I saw recently a freestyle of his from when he must have been like 13 or 14, some Canada contests, and like he was still good for his age, but he was not like he is now at all. And like you could tell he didn't have like really any of what he's got now style wise. So he obviously had to work at it for years. And Charles Haycock the same way. Charles was always good, but he blew up to a different level.
Good back in the day.
He was, but like still compared.
I'm not saying
I feel like
but
now he's beyond what he was when he was like 12 in those early videos. So
he was still like, I'll take credit for this till the end of time, where like I was the first person to like post his video and be like, this kid is amazing and gonna be really good, because he was yo-yoing to Wu-Tang and he was like in his aunt's house that has all these like fertility goddess statues that are just like thick girls with like huge boobs and thighs, and I was just like a 15-year-old kid like, where are you? And like the first 10 seconds of the video is just like close-ups of all these fertility statues. Funny, it's like, what is this? Like
but yeah, unless some people can pick up things naturally, like have good hand-eye coordination, can just do stuff. And so if you're one of those, you might have some luck with yo-yoing. Otherwise, you need to be really highly motivated to stick with it, which is just hard. As a kid, it's obviously more likely because you have a lot of time and more excitement about it. But getting an adult into yo-yoing, it's like, it's time consuming, man, to learn, to grind, like to put in the hours to get good at throwing and binding and landing on the string and managing string tension.
Yeah.
And fucking managing the angle of the
string
yo-yo.
tension is such a crazy thing to try to explain to someone.
It's
They're starting to learn slack.
And it just, people get discouraged. I've tried
Right.
teaching people and it's like, okay, you're starting to get the bind a little bit. And then they're like, but why the fuck is my string like this? I'm like, that's the other thing. There's string tension, so it's twisted, and then and usually I just give up. I'm like, just take it off your finger and just go, because I'm like, I'm not gonna explain like
A
you
bind
can do
sidewinder
UFOs or you can
something,
like
yeah.
like I don't even.
You
it's
sound
just,
like
it's so discouraging. To
yeah,
me. Like I hate teaching people, honestly.
Right. When like your parents or someone are trying to explain something to when you're a kid and you're just like, this is like so much. It's like, that's what you
I
feel
get
like
overwhelmed.
when you're, like trying to explain, especially something like string tension, where it's like, well, you can adjust it like a dozen different ways. So it really depends. Here's the quickest way, but that's going to be hard because you just learned how to bind, and learning how to bind and throw it horizontal is going to be
even just
harder.
explaining like, eventually you will just be able to feel the string and know if it's good or not.
Right. Yeah.
But until then, you have to like go like this and hold it up. And if it twists up this way, you need to go the other way. And if it like, it's just too much, dude. For like most people are at that point, are just like, okay, I'm good. Like,
also, not to sound mean, but like our target demographic for yo-yo, or like the people who most of the time gravitate towards yo-yo the most, are not the best with hand-eye coordination. You know what I mean? It's not like some jockey kid that like just stumbled upon and is like, oh cool, like I'm really good at every other sport, and like maybe I could be, not that yo-yo's a sport, but like, oh, I could be good at yo-yo.
That's the thing, the people I mentioned first who are naturally good at shit like that are yo-yoing's low on the list of shit they're gonna spend their, because they can fucking play guitar or draw or like sports or instruments or something that's going to be way better for their life than but not to dig on yo-yoing has been amazing for my life and lots of people, so it's worth doing. But it also just, that gets to the next point, that it has a stigma around it. Like I said, people called me names in middle school. Like, it's nerdy, inherently nerdy for whatever reason. It goes along with nerds. I wonder if it couldn't, but like I just had the thought, like, does that have to do with how the demonstrators wore like uptight shit back in the? But I feel like everyone dressed that way. Like that's just how it was. So like I don't know what made it a nerdy thing.
And there's a lot of cool yo-yo players now, even if they are nerdy. Like it's kind of cool to be a nerd now. Or like
or to have a nerdy quirky thing.
Be passionate about something, and
we're going in the right direction for sure. But I don't know what makes
for sure more yo-yoers now than ever. Like, I think it's just like a slow, steady growth thing where like, because even the kids still love DNA, and DNA is still like, and Godspeed, and it's still a prevalent thing within non-yo-yoers watching you and be like, can you do DNA? Can you do Godspeed? But it's definitely a lot less than what it used to be.
Yeah.
And it's like, even that in itself, like, it may have sold a lot of yo-yos, but I don't know how many new yo-yo players it was breeding. You know what I mean? It's hard to quantify such a thing, because like the industry did see a big uptick during that period of time, but it also perfectly coincided with COVID. Thank you. Where like everything was selling more. Like skateboard companies are still recovering from it because like they over ordered the amount of shit they needed, and they're sitting on tens of thousands of decks in a warehouse and being like, oh, let's sand off the graphic and put on a new graphic or whatever the hell. And it's yo-yoing, the same thing happened where like we saw a huge uptick in interest, and then I don't know, it's not like a regular boom where like people got interested in it for like 2 or 3 years and then dropped off, or like Pokemon was or whatever. But there's also just I don't know, like, and it sounds so cliche to say like we need more yo-yo clubs, but like community is a big reason, because like skateboarding, playing an instrument, something like that, most of the time you like find a group of people you do it with, and then that kind of breeds more interest and like wants you to you have a reason to get better. So yeah, clubs are for sure important, the community of it, but and that's another reason why forums are so big, or the Discord is so big, or the Reddit is so big, is because it's like an online community. Where the same thing, like, oh, you post this new trick you learned, and again, not to harp on the yo-yo players that already are very interested in yo-yoing, but like none of them want to help new players or are interested in like kind of promoting it to new players. It's just like yo-yoers are very selfish, which is a big reason why they yo-yo. Like they want to be communal, but it's like with people that already are aware and know how to yo-yo, and not. I don't know. There's always people can teach as a community too. Where like if you come to a club and there's 10 people, you're gonna, if you ask enough, someone's gonna teach you something or whatever. But like, it's like when you are a new player and you come in and everyone is just kind of like standing there, or you're like, oh, like cool, like I know these tricks, and it's just like I don't know. And that's with skateboarding. I hate to compare it, but it's like. Nobody is doing that really to like teach other people. It's kind of like known, like it's different now than it was when we were kids, but no one's really doing that. It's a very independent activity that you do and then come together and like do it together, and occasionally you guys might teach each other a trick or whatever, but it's not like yo-yo where trading tricks is supposed to be part of like the communal habit and learning together, or like helping the trick progression increase.
Right.
Without, there's a lot of reasons why I think yo-yoing is not as popular as it could be, but it's even like we mentioned it earlier, where like the community right now is very deflated just because it's like overstimulated. Like there's new yo-yos coming out constantly. In order to promote those new yo-yos, everyone's putting out a new trick circle or video constantly, and none of them are very good or much effort put into them. And it's just, and we're both guilty of it too. So it's the pot call and the kettle black. But it's like even just like the littlest amount more of effort, you know what I mean? Which is funny. Like I love all those Russian videos that people are putting out, like the really cool, like the spin-cult.ru guys or whatever.
What? I'm not sure what you're. I know those guys, but what are the videos? Are they like clip videos?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or just like trick circles and stuff.
Yeah.
They're just well made. It's not even like there's necessarily like a theme with it or whatever. It's just like a cool, dramatic black and white shot downtown with like a shallow depth of field, and like it just looks nice.
Yeah.
And like it's funny because they put all this effort into it, and like it gets a lot of recognition from people they care about getting recognition from. But to the average yo-yoer, it's just like, whatever, like, cool. Like,
it's hard, man.
I can put my iPhone on portrait mode and get the same effect. Like, they don't care, you know? And it kind of sucks, but, like, I don't know. There's something to be said, again, like, to harp on intention with how you do things. And it's like...
Do it for yourself, and people will follow if it speaks to them. Maybe
just because something is really nice doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to garner the attention you want or garner the, like... response you want. It's just going to exist as something that's really nice. And
so make sure you're enjoying it while you do it. Don't do it for the wrong reasons, right?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I'm trying to think of other reasons why. This is something Seth and I talk about on a regular basis, almost daily, where it's just like, why isn't yo-yo as popular as it could be? I mean, Betty just hit 2 million subscribers, and that's partially because she's in a Latin-speaking country where, like, social media is popular, so they follow people that speak the same language they do or the same ethnicity as they are, and they're very supportive and want to support.
Do you know what like her video content is? I haven't watched any. But
it's like similar to Brandon or.
So is it all yo-yo related?
Yeah.
Or? Oh wow.
She doesn't do like. She could release
just daily life vlogging. It's more like all yo-yo related stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's like, watch this DNA with my most expensive yo-yo. Can I do my fastest combo with my smallest yo-yo? Like,
okay.
Just regular clickbaity kind of stuff. It's nice and it's good, but it's I don't know. And all those influencers and stuff, like, they exist for a reason, and I don't think that they should stop making the content they're making, but like, definitely maybe take a page out of Brandon Wu's book where, like, he's kind of talking about the culture of yo-yo a little more too, and like doing like these Casey Neistat style vlogs, and like even his short form content is very like purposeful and thematic. And
I feel like he does a pretty good job teaching. Like every once in a while, he'll make an actual like reel that's a tutorial or just a little story of how he learned someone's
Right.
trick,
Yeah.
which I think is just a little more valuable than some of the other stuff. Not that it's all entertainment, but as far as being good for getting new yo-yoers or getting people interested, I think teaching is always going to be the way.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing is like tutorials are still by far the most popular content. Like when I look at my analytics on YouTube Studio, like I get a crazy amount of interaction with tutorials I have that are still 5, 6 years old, and it's like,
Yeah, my number one video is that hash browns tutorial.
yeah, is that like recent? Or?
Oh no, that's from 2007.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
You should redo it.
I'm going to for the 17-year anniversary, which is next month. I just looked today and did the math.
That's
So
awesome.
they'll be 17 years old. I'm going to do.
That's insane that trick is that.
I'm going to redo it shot for shot, but as an adult, because it's goofy. I have like a Sledgehammer is the song, which I'm going to get flagged now for. But you know that Peter Gabriel song, and it opens with me like with chopsticks again, weirdly eating a business the yo-yo, like
I remember
shoving it in my mouth. So I'm gonna have to find a yo-yo that I can fit in my mouth.
It's a thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna refilm it and
Yeah.
try to wear the same. I might even do it in my dad's basement, like where I did it. So
That'd
it
be
looks
hilarious.
roughly the same.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, tutorials are still the most popular content, which again, harking back to yo-yoers don't want to teach other yo-yoers. Like, there's the few people in our community that make tutorials, like really put the pedal to the metal and release a lot of them, so it feels like there's a lot of tutorials, but there's like still kind of very few tutorials, you know what I mean, all things considered. And everyone has unique trick sets, unique perspectives, unique ways of teaching that could be added, and like anyone who learns anything off YouTube is going to watch multiple versions of the tutorial, if not all of them, you know what I mean? Because they want to see what everyone's...
we should film some to get. I really want to film like for some of my tricks.
Yeah.
I've had people ask me for a long time, but I hate doing it by myself. Because all I have is that GoPro, just like super wide angle, and I know I could use my phone, but editing on the phone sucks because like the shape of the camera.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just gotta figure out a streamlined way to make it like not miserable because I just hate doing it. Then you gotta do voiceover, or you gotta
do it while you're doing the trick, which is hard.
really hard because
Yeah.
the audio sucks. So like I usually do voiceover, but that means I definitely want to edit on the computer, and then I just feel like I need a better camera or a cameraman.
Yeah, let's do it together.
Maybe we
We'll
could-
talk about it.
It would be more fun just doing it with someone else, and we could probably knock out like 5 each and have them because I would love to do that.
They're still not fun to edit just because it's
Yeah.
such a laborious process of like making sure every part goes up, and like writing the script for it is like so
The script
difficult
sucks.
because you're like doing the like take your non-throw hand and place it on the outside of your non-throw hand side of your body, and then cross with your throw hand over top of your non-throw hand. Like
Yeah.
I did a couple for Mark, Meg Garrett, and Colin, and they've been by far the hardest I've ever done. And like, just writing out the scripts, probably, I'm not even exaggerating, took like 12, 15 hours to do 10 tricks.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you break it down, it's not that crazy, and it's like, the content will pay for itself. Like, people will want to buy yo-yos from you because you release a tutorial and it helps them learn, and then you create this memory together. But it's just like putting in the sweat equity of doing it up front is just like such a difficult process.
I just don't have a passion for teaching, so that makes it harder. It's just not fun. I don't get off on like, oh yeah, my trick's gonna be out there. Like, I don't know. And like the tutorials I did do, like the hash brown I mentioned, it's not a tutorial. It's just me doing the trick and then me doing it in slow motion. Because back in the day, that was a tutorial. That was it.
Yeah.
So now it's so much more involved. That it's like no way.
Yeah, I still remember the first time that Yo Tricks Adam came to Yo-Yo Factory, and like we were all having a meeting or whatever, and I like very stupidly was just like, man, like your tutorials are so in depth. Like you're really like writing out every single step and then recording and you talking through every single step. And he just kind of like blankly stared at me for like 4 or 5 seconds and was like, yep. And I was like,
wow, like, because it's truly insane. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough that like a lot of the tricks I would want to teach are like second nature to me, so I don't really have to put in a ton of effort to do them while I'm talking.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny, the couple times I've filmed with Andre tutorials, like, I knock them out so quick. Like, I do them first, second try constantly, just because it's almost more difficult for me to just hit the trick singularly than it is for me to like talk through the trick. Because
Does Yo-Yo Tricks talk while he's doing the trick, or is it voiceover?
no, it's most of the time while I'm doing the
Oh,
trick.
then I just gotta get a little lapel mic. Or
Yeah.
something.
I have
Yeah.
a couple.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Because I think that would be easier for me.
Yeah.
While
And then
it's
you
in
can
front of
use
me,
your-
I can explain better
Your
than.
voice notes app.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
You know?
and even then, like, you can do it step by step. Like, you can break the trick down, but it's just like, right, you have to do it very intentional and, like, probably restart a bunch.
Yeah.
It's just,
But I like the idea of that more than doing it silently and getting every step
Yeah.
and angle and then having to put voice. Because the timing is always hard. Like if I'm just standing there talking.
the hardest part is by far just writing it out, and, like, that is something I would recommend you do with another person, because, like, if you do it on
make sure it makes sense.
Right, if you do it on your own, it, like, you miss so many steps.
Little things that-
yeah, you don't
take
realize
for
you're
granted.
doing this tiny little thing with your left
That's the
hand.
classic thing when you go to show some, or at least for me, I'll show someone a trick. They'll be like, "Show me that," and I'll be like, when I break it down, like, ooh, I confuse myself.
You don't
because I'm
really
not
realize,
realizing
yeah.
I have like a twist here. I'm like, oh, I guess. Okay, so you actually need to.
Yeah,
It's very interesting.
every time I've written scripts with people, that's like the funniest, most frustrating part. And it's like, you have to be very patient with each other, because like, it's
Yeah.
so frustrating to like try to explain something to someone they don't understand.
Yeah.
Because like, if you've been doing a trick for fucking even just a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever,
Yeah.
it's like a second language to you, and you know it and it's memorized. And then like, I have to ask the person so many times, like, no, do this part again. You're doing something with this hand that you're not explaining to me, because obviously something's happening. I'm doing exactly what you're doing and it's not happening. Like, there are a couple of tricks with Colin and Mark where it was just like, certain parts would take like literally an hour for us to figure out and be like, let's do a different trick and we'll come back to this, because maybe like I'll have learned a little more of your trick language through learning one of your other tricks,
Yeah.
and we could come back and do this other trick. But like, one little movement would take like a crazy amount of time, and it was just like, this is insane how unnecessary this is almost. But it's like, it's hard when you're doing it and it's a second nature to you, but you're trying to explain it to someone else who has no idea what you're doing, and you're like, oh shit. Like, yeah, I think everyone in the community could stand to be a little more welcoming to beginners / want to help educate or bring on the new generation, which is, it's literally like 1 out of 500 yo-yo players I hear that from that are like, I want to help onboard the new yo-yo players, because it's not a sexy or cool job. It's not like you're on stage looking cool, or like, you're very rarely getting to teach like a Hunter or a Betty like I have, where it's like, oh yeah, this person's going to go on to be a national or world champion, and it's going to be somewhat mentally beneficial for you, and be like, oh, I actually played my part in the community. It's just like,
Yeah.
you're teaching some random person who's trash and like never going to be better than what you're teaching them right now. A lot of people used to think it was the price of yo-yos or like the yo-yo technology, but like,
No, I have more, dude.
no, yeah, you could get an amazing yo-yo for $20-$30, and
Yeah.
like, that's almost a more encouraging factor to get people involved, is the collectability, or like
Yeah.
people who like collecting and enjoy testing and playing new things out and comparing and contrasting, because then they end up with 100 whole case full of yo-yos and can barely do branding or some shit. Can you think of any other reasons why?
No, but it's a whole lot of reasons, man.
Oh yeah.
It's a great question, Steve. Thank
It
you
is
for
a great
calling in.
question, yes.
It's very interesting to think about. I think it's getting better all the time, man.
Yeah, like we said, there's more people than ever yo-yoing, which is amazing. And it's funny that we all kind of complain to each other. They're like, oh, yo-yoing is so washed right now, but it's like, it's better than ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the people are...
The yo-yos are better, the tricks are better.
We don't even know, like, you used to be able to, in your brain, rack off the, like, 36, 50 people who were, like, S-tier yo-yos in your brain, you know what I mean? And now that number is so far beyond.
There's people I don't know.
Right, exactly what I was
At
going to
all.
say. Yeah, there's people that we don't know at all.
I
People that we may never
discover
know.
almost monthly,
Right.
maybe even some weekly, like
That's amazing.
a new
Someone who's
Instagram
really
profile, like this 5A May, there's been like 2 guys.
Yeah.
It's like, who the
good. Have you seen that guy?
3D trick I shared the other day
Yeah,
on my
I didn't know who that
I never
was,
knew who
yeah.
that was. That guy's crazy. He's Japanese, I'm pretty sure.
It's crazy when they're not following us. You know what I mean? When they're not that like everyone should be following.
That guy was. I was
really-
really stoked
That's
on that. I was
that's
like,
dope, yeah.
oh yeah.
But it's funny when they aren't following you, and it's like, damn, I'm not shit anymore. Like-
But then I remind myself that like Hajime follows me. Like, alright, I'm still okay. I'm
Yeah.
doing okay.
And it's cool too. Like it kind of means. I remember like one of the proudest moments for me with Recess was like when it outgrew my, because at the time I even had more followers than Gentry had on Instagram,
Yeah.
and he had like won worlds and stuff. But I had like years of amazing Yo-Yo Factory promotion put into my personal account. And then like once I surpassed that on Recess, I was like, man, like I'm a real brand now. Like I'm bigger than my actual personality. And still to this day, when people are kind of like, oh, you own Recess? I'm like, yeah. It's like a weird, like I'm not doing my job moment, but also like cool that Recess has outgrown me as a personality. And it's just like
Yeah.
people think someone else owns it, and I just play Yo-Yo for Recess. Or whatever.
That's wild. to me.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
Another off voicemail question someone asked was about like creating artificial scarcity within the yo-yo community, or like subscription services or lottery drops when it comes to yo-yos
Oh yeah, that was on the
on
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah, because
I remember reading that comment. If I recall, they said they don't like it.
yeah, and I think that's a justified feeling and an easy feeling when you know, most people who have white collar jobs within yo-yos and make $100,000 a year and have almost infinite expendable income, like can buy all kinds of shit, or
Right.
like it's also well, before I get to that last part, like it's easy to like keep up with the Joneses in yo-yo or fall victim to that, because you see people with like these huge cases and collections full of yo-yos that they barely use, and you don't even know how good they are. Most of the time they're trash. Like they can barely use them, and they're just like a regular yo-yo, which is fine. Like everyone should buy whatever they want, but it's like it's funny that people who often feel that way are people who actually are getting pretty good or want to be better at yo-yo, and like they just feel like they're missing out or something, not getting a chance to buy those yo-yos. And it's like, I don't know, the yo-yo never makes the player always makes the yo-yo, you know? So it's like, you can have a $30 Top Yo or Yo-Yo Friends yo-yo and still be amazing and do amazing tricks,
Yeah.
and not have one of these super rare yo-yos. So
It's the same as in the world of guitars and stuff too.
Yeah.
It's like getting the fanciest, rare shit, vintage Les Paul is not attainable for 90% of the population because they cost $40,000. But it's like you don't need that at all, and arguably the modern guitars sound better anyway. Artificial scarcity is tricky because it's like I guess guilty of that, but like I literally can't just make too many. I can't get stuck with these things.
Right.
So like I need to make the number that I know is going to sell out eventually. So some people who don't buy it quick enough, I've gotten to a point where I've gotten it good where I keep most of my stuff in stock for several months.
Yeah.
So you have time to get it.
even the popular colors would at least last a couple weeks. It's
Yeah.
not like 50 of something.
Sometimes the color's gone in a week, but like you have a week still, and it's just like that's just a color. But like you can get the yo-yo. So like, but I just can't get stuck with boxes of yo-yos in my house, even though I have some. But you know,
But it would be different if you were like, all right, I'm gonna really
but
get
yes,
an order.
running like 10 or something, like and charging double for that. I don't know. That gets weird. But I can't think of a good yo-yo that, like a really good popular yo-yo that
It's impossible.
that's impossible to get. Like they pop up, like even the weird rare yo-yo Rex, like they make those regularly, like
Yeah.
they'll sell out, but then they make another 6 months later. Like,
It's just a business
It's,
model, you know?
yeah.
Like so many fucking hot sauce companies and like Pepsi and Pringles, and every company now does limited edition shit because they realize it's a way to drive out their consumer to try something new. And whether or not it's good is whatever, it's irrelevant because you're a fan of this brand and you're going to want to not even just support, 'cause it's not like I want to support Pepsi. But if they come out with some crazy flavor, it's like, oh, I'll buy a bottle and try it out because it's fun, like, and it's $2 or whatever. But my response to them was just like, anybody who makes money off yo-yoing, I commend, because it's like not an easy thing to monetize, you know?
Yeah.
Other than doing the artificial scarcity route where it's like, oh, I'm only making 10 of these, so get them while the fucking iron is hot.
Or just getting lucky and making something people actually want.
Right.
I don't know about like subscription. You mentioned subscription services or paywalls.
Yeah, that's pretty rare. There's only a handful of companies that really offer that. And that's, I think, because they do the artificial scarcity sounds mean, but it is kind of like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you could just very easily, as easy as it is for you to order 10, you could order 30 or 35, but like, you know, ordering 10 is going to leave 30 people out dry. So like, you're going to create demand for when the next run for those people come in. So it's not really like mean or trying to nag people. It's just what it is, right? It's a model, you know what I mean? And when people do the subscription service or lottery drop, I think it's just adding another wall to that where it's like, oh, if you're really that big of a fan of my brand and you really want to get one, like first dibs, like then pay $10 a month. And it's like, I don't know, I don't see anything wrong with it. Like, yo-yoing isn't, I don't want to sound mean, but it's not a poor man's game. Like, there are yo-yos that exist for budget customers, and they're still amazing products. Like, and most of the time, yo-yos that are that exclusive or difficult to get, like I said at the beginning of this whole diatribe, it's not going to make you an incredible yo-yoer. Like, it might encourage you to yo-yo more because you feel cool having it or whatever, but it's like that's quickly going to dry up. Like, you're not going to be persuaded by that forever to get better because you have this one yo-yo in a crazy colorway that you love. Like, you're going to like it, but it's not like you're not going to look at that yo-yo a year from now and be like, oh man, like I can't. That's all like inside of you and your desire to get better.
And I think it's a collector mindset. And I can't speak for collectors, but as a player, I can speak for players in that like there isn't a yo-yo that you should have or that's really good that you need in your collection that you can't get or that you need a paywall.
And it hasn't been that way for 15 years, 16 years, 15, 14 years, something like that. Ever since Yo-Yo Factory kind of started making tons of yo-yos in like 2009, 2010. It was like, and then afterwards now with like all the Chinese brands that sell like a bunch of yo-yos, it's so easy to get a really good yo-yo.
You can slap a SS coming this Friday.
Yeah.
Great yo-yo. Excited about it.
That being said too, I think the one damaging part of artificial scarcity, or kind of the opposite of artificial scarcity, is when brands develop a customer base and undercharge for their product, you know what I mean? Where G2 Jake, I was watching one of his blogs recently and he covered it really well. It wasn't one of his blogs, it was on his story. And I forget what the exact question was, but he was basically explaining like, I think it was what goes into like the pricing of the yo-yo, and it's like how many B grades there are, how much the anodizing costs, how many you make, all these things. But then he was also explaining like how people who are just doing it as like a side project or don't necessarily care about like making a feasible profit or a fair profit, it's just like as long as I make money or break even on these, that's all I care about. Then it's like that's damaging to the industry because like that brings the consumers' expectations down of like, oh, a bimetal only costs $60 now or $70, and like Yo-Yo Factory is guilty of this too, where like the KO is like $40 or $50 because it's like that's going to be our budget bimetal. And
they
it's
do it because they can, because they're big,
right?
Other smaller companies, I feel like, do it because they already make enough money at their day job that it doesn't matter, and that does bother me because it's like, I don't make that much money at my day job, so the money I make from yo-yoing is very important to my life and to me, so like, it does suck getting undercut. just because someone else is like, well, I'm making 6 figures. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'll only make $10 profit off each yo-yo, and it's not a big deal to me. And that's like, that does hurt the industry, like you said.
It hurts the industry from like the consumer perspective, and also because like stores will buy them and then they only have a certain budget to be able to buy other yo-yos too. And it's like if they're busy buying this budget bimetal from XYZ company and they stock up on that because it's a $60 bimetal, and then they come to buy your yo-yo and it's like, oh, I they don't say this to you, but it's like you can definitely tell when it happens.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, oh man.
Yeah. You're paying for all kinds of stuff when you pay for a yo-yo. It's not just the cost of materials. It's not that simple. It's
Right.
the time, the thought put into it, the hours and hours of promotion and writing things, making videos, talking to people and answering questions, answering emails, and doing customer service and replacing people's broken yet. Like, it all goes into it.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to quantify other than like the hard numbers that you actually have, because it's like, how do you pay yourself for the last 20 years of work you put in? Of like, oh,
And it's like, I'm
yo-yoing so much.
working an hourly day job and I come home from that and work 6 more hours packing yo-yos. Like, what am I not supposed to pay myself an hourly wage for that? Like, I need to be making. It's not that fun just packing boxes. I try to make it fun with doodling and drawing, but it's exhausting after a fucking day of work.
Even that
it's
becomes a chore after a while. Like, you
need to-
enjoy making art, but it's not like you want to do 200.
and it's like, am I going to be better off not doing that and staying at work and getting overtime? That's the way I look at it. It's
Right.
like, if I'm going to leave work early to pack yo-yos, I got to be making some money doing that.
Yeah.
For this to be a feasible thing for me to do.
Right. And it also kind of hurts the industry too. Like, I'm trying to think of the right way to word it. Like the direct store model, or like direct to consumer now, like that plays into why some companies charge less, is because like, well, if I sell so many direct, then like I don't need to make as much off of the ones that I sell to retailers, which like on paper makes sense, but it's like, again, it hurts the industry's expectation average of like, oh, this is how much this should cost, this is how much this should cost, this is how much this should cost, and it fucks it up for a lot of people. It's not just like, oh, well, like nobody really pays attention that closely. It's like, no, every kid looks obsessively at all the costs of everything, and when they see one brand being like, oh, well, this bimetal's only $70, like why is yours $100? And it's like $30 for like a aerospace quality machined piece of aluminum should not be that much more to pay, especially when it's like you're supporting one person versus like a brand that's like selling a new yo-yo every so often, and they have all these wholesale accounts that you don't. But like, no regular yo-yo consumer takes that into account. They're just like, well, yours is 100 and that one's 70, so I'll just buy this.
Yeah, it's just not that simple.
No. And it's hard to even promote that without sounding like, man, like I'm
not complaining, and I hope I don't come across like greedy or something. But it's just the way it is. Like, it is time consuming, and it's as much fun as I have doing it. It still has to,
And I don't even think the people that do it realize that they're affecting the industry in the way they are. I just think
I'm sure they don't. No one's doing it maliciously or on purpose, but it's just all good stuff to think about. Like,
and it's a drug in a way where like if you've underpriced a yo-yo and it sells super fucking fast, then you're like you get like a nice dopamine hit off that, and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna do this again, and like you just. We talked about this a few podcasts before, where like the first dunk you came out with was like a little cheaper than it should have been.
Definitely.
And you sold through them like crazy, but it was just, especially during the pandemic, you probably could.
I hit a lot of different points where it all worked out, but I had a lot to like. Kind of goes back to what we were saying. Like, you're gonna regret your first yo-yo if you did. Even though I had but I had no experience selling, and it was like I definitely have learned a lot since then.
Yeah. Have you thought about doing more recently, or because you haven't done a large bearing dunk since 2020, right, or 2020?
Yeah, I have plans for that definitely. Because next year will be 4 years. Next year's gonna be 5 years, and I think I'm gonna do a
little. Well, yeah, we're talking about this
release. Yeah, that'll be fun. So.
Because, like, I think we were talking about this via text a few days ago about how, like, we were about how the price is kind of inching up on everything again just because of inflation in general.
We're back. we've been looking like dumbasses holding these mics. To
Oh
our
my
faces
god,
that
dude.
Weren't doing anything.
Fucking idiot.
They weren't plugged in.
Jesus Christ.
So we apologize for the lower quality audio in the beginning, but now
for
listen
the
up,
first
Chris.
hour and a half.
for the
so,
first 2 hours of for the whole podcast at this point.
Yeah.
But
Jesus Christ.
it's all right. We're gonna fix it in post. It's gonna be beautiful.
You want to plug Bimetal Slap? What?
You sound so defeated.
Because I am. It just sucks. Like you said, it's such a good episode, and
it
it's
was a
like,
good
oh,
one,
the
man.
audio is going to be so shitty, but it'll be. And
People will still enjoy it. It's still content that doesn't exist otherwise.
yes,
We did it.
You're right.
We could have AI write up a script of the entire episode and we could reread it on.
Oh my god! Could you imagine?
Trying to act natural. And then I said, and also,
Do that again. It didn't sound very convincing.
yeah.
So Jake has a new yo-yo coming out this Friday.
Yes. Look at that. Rainbow rims. And they're blasted too. Stainless steel rims, and
Those are like the best rainbow rims I've ever seen.
they came out nice. Like the purple green is
I guess
like,
just because it's like kind of matte. But
I think it's the matte that does it. But these are beautiful. It's the Yo-yo Slappa, which came out a couple years ago. 59 grams, super light, slimline, kind of a bigger diameter. I'm all stuffed up from allergies. But this one has big stainless steel rims on it. So it just spins even longer. It's very powerful. You'd think it was pretty like
oh yeah,
it's pretty like crazy feeling. It's just like a powerful yo-yo.
it spins super fast.
But,
Spins good, throws good.
spins good, plays real good. Yeah, so I'm hoping to bust my ass promoting the next 2 days and try to drop these
Next
Friday
48
night.
hours.
Yeah.
I love the new renaissance of slimline yo-yos because just
Yeah.
people enjoying playing with something different and getting a different dopamine hit from their yo-yo instead of just like, I'm gonna do the hardest competitive trick on this
Yeah.
super wide yo-yo. It's like people enjoy playing with these. I love watching Paul Harness play with skinny yo-yos and
Yeah.
just ripping it up, and like, I don't know, it's funny because
He loves the slim dunk.
yeah, the firecracker I made like with the intention of people playing it responsive and unresponsive,
Yeah.
and the majority of people are just playing it responsive, but
Love
like
that.
but I want them to like try it unresponsive too, because it's like you can do all the same tricks on it. It's still fun. It's great. Like it's oh yeah, and the jelly counterweights are coming out too.
Yep, same time Gummy Weights
Gummy Weights,
collaboration, but they're exclusive to my oh my god. Barrel almost spilled my polar seltzer. They're exclusive to like my website just forever. As far as it's basically, you know, it's a he's making them, but it'll be like a dunk based product. So these little gummy weights. There's the pro versions that are clear. They're just much harder. They're basically I think the standard gummies are more fun. The pros more or less I made for pros who are like afraid to use a beginner oriented counterweight, you
Yeah.
know what I mean, who might be like, I'm not even gonna try that. This way maybe they'll give this a shot and find that they like it. But
Jake's cat's near me is making me nervous.
yeah, be careful. Barrel, come here. Come here. That's no string.
He's chilling.
I will say that you were talking about slimlines. There were like a lot of people with the first Slappa who told me they were newer players, but they were like always anti slimline. Like they just didn't get it. They didn't like the idea, but then they tried a friend Slappa or they tried one of mine at a contest and ended up getting one. So it sort of converted a few people into like, it is weird. Like on paper, the specs are probably not what you would want, and 59 grams sounds really weird, but like it doesn't feel too light, and it's extremely powerful. Jamie, there's a collaboration with Spiral, so he's a really good yo-yo designer, and I don't know, I think I said it last pod, but the Slappa was my favorite yo-yo, and I think this is right up there with it. It's just a different version, but improved, I think. Really
Yeah,
fun.
the wall looks so awesome on the inside of it.
It's got great lines.
It looks
like,
so much like an H-spin yo-yo. Not like any
Yeah.
particular one, but it has like a similar design language I feel like they would have used to design
Yeah.
yo-yo 20
very
years ago.
heavily Good and Evil inspired, which there'll be some stuff coming along with that as
Yeah,
well.
that's
I gotta
awesome.
show you the engravings I'm gonna do for the edition.
He
but,
just redid a yo-yo recently, right? Chris
yeah.
Kayatz.
Was it Good and Evil 3 or I think it was Good and Evil 3.
Really?
I haven't tried one. I hope someone has one.
They were expensive, weren't they? Like $160
They were
or
expensive.
$140 or something?
Yeah, and they were debearing, but they, at least in the photos, they appeared to have 19 millimeter pads, which is a concern. But I haven't played with one. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's
Yeah,
not a 19 millimeter pad, but it really looked like one.
Yeah.
That's just not something you want to do with a debearing, but
I wish, yeah, he's like one of those designers, or like he has the ability to like, he knows what it takes to make like a really cool brand. And like, I don't know. It's interesting how when he was running H-Spin specifically, it was like so tight and like was literally like pushing the industry forward in so many
Yeah.
ways. And then like as soon as he let other people kind of take control of it, it was just like all downhill. Like nobody
oh yeah,
did it to
After
the same level
Pirate-
he was.
Well, I stayed on board till the first Envy, and then I kind of jumped ship.
The Good and Evil 4 was nice too,
Was
like
it?
2008, like right before he started to like have a team and like add people onto the team.
Yeah, it got
and-
kind of weird with the cut. I remember that yo-yo. I was like, this isn't an H-spin.
Yeah, that one looked kind of weird, but it's funny now because like people will do that to
Yeah,
yo-yos, like do
yeah.
all those crazy lines.
No,
on
he
a
was
yo-yo.
ahead of his time. I mean, we've talked about it before, but it's one of the earliest bimetal yo-yos. The Handquake.
Yeah, I think
It
it's
might
the
be
first
the
one.
first
I'm
one,
pretty
yeah.
sure it's the first one. Yeah.
So that's insane. He was doing brass rings and stainless steel rings and anodized crazy stuff with laser engraving that like people still don't do today, like weird stippling engravings on stuff. And
Yeah, I think Yo-Yo Jam did a couple like really rare bimetals. And then I want to say like maybe some Chinese brands did bimetals in like 2012,
Yes.
2013 or something.
Yo-Yo
like
Jam did the Titan
Yeah.
in 2005 or 6, which was like titanium with 24 karat gold and stainless steel ring. It was insane.
It's so
They
insane.
made like 12 of them. There was one on eBay. I think Frank Diffio sold his on eBay two or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It sold for like $800, which is
Probably less than it
less
retailed
than
for.
yeah, but still pretty solid considering there's 12 of them and like people probably didn't give that much of a shit.
I never even knew they existed until like the Yo-Yo Museum.
They
And then-
literally each one was custom made for whoever bought it, so they got to pick
Oh.
the hub. So some have like literal rubies on the nipple of
Yeah.
the hub. One of them has a diamond. Frank's had like gold balls, like round balls. So his was like less impressive than some of the like jeweled ones, but
Yeah.
like they're literally like a piece of jewelry. It's like fucking crazy. I would love to throw one of those.
doing
place, like-
yo-yos with rhinestones
horrible.
would be so sick.
yeah, dude. I have a flocking kit in that box. I want to try to flock some yo-yos, dude.
Oh yeah.
Similar idea. But like the what do they call it? Like the Swarovski style where you cover something in crystals.
Yeah, Kentaro's done a couple yo-yos like
Has
that,
he?
Turning Point, but like they're like super glued on or something. It would be so sick to do it like
Machine it
Tom
so you
Coon
could like
style, yeah,
actually.
machine it in there.
Oh, dude.
Or there used to be ways to like actually cut the like there's ways that you can like cut the metal to make it glimmer like it's a diamond or something.
Yes. Yeah.
I forget what it's called. The
Like putting like facets in
yes,
it.
thank you,
Yeah.
faceting the metal. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Frank did that on some Diffios, sort of.
Oh, really?
In the inner hubs, he would put, all those cuts. It's a
Yeah.
similar idea.
There's ways though that you can do it that really makes it shimmer though. Like
Oh, okay.
I've seen like bracelets and shit that have it on it, or like a coin or something, or people that are practicing metal carving and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what's going on with the Slappa.
But that's awesome. So Slappa and Gummy Weights
Slappa
dropping
and
on
Gummy
Friday.
Dice, yes, sir.
Gummy Dice.
Gummy Weights,
Gummy
Gummy
Weights.
Dice by Jake Bullock's gummy weights by gummy dice by gummy weights. Yes. It is called Jake Bullock's gummy dice by gummy weights. So look forward to those.
Oh my god, bro. We were just talking about how nerdy yo-yo is.
I'm completely
Like, buy my Haribo yo-yo, please.
Yeah, and check
That would
out.
be cool to get him to make some full yo-yos like this too, even just like as a,
No, I
a
was
novelty.
just talking
you know?
about that with Spencer today. I'm like, I want to make a rubber freehand with him, so we're working on that.
Yeah, that would be sick.
It's gonna
I bet
wobble, but
you
if
might
we
be able
do
to
it
find
that,
machinable
that
stuff.
hardness. I think it might work. If we do it the soft, it's just gonna wobble. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I always wanted to do Spin Factor HG inspired yo-yo, but with urethane.
Yeah,
Like
dude.
skateboard
Oh my
wheels.
God.
And Jeff Pang, who helped me start Recess, like did some of my first designs. He was like, "Oh, I don't know if that could like work on a yo-yo because yo-yo spins so fast and like it might have
Yeah,
like it's not a super stable material, but
worth trying.
yeah, and they machine skateboard wheels, you know, like little parts of it. So
They
I
spin
don't
pretty fucking fast.
they don't spin
Not
thousands
that
of
fast.
RPMs fast, yeah.
They do if I'm riding, bro.
Yeah, it'd be cool to do the whole yo-yo. I don't know if you can buy urethane bar stock either, but
Yeah. Check out my short film. It's on YouTube and my Instagram.
oh yeah, you put that on YouTube. You're
I threw it on YouTube just to have it. You know, I'm proud of it. It's stupid.
no, it's awesome. I love how it's. I feel like if people did more like throwbacks like that or reference to older things or like I don't know.
Yeah, it could be start of something fun. I never really
Yeah.
considered doing something that. And the reference I made was very subtle and small, so I don't expect people to pick up on it. But like,
It could still be a cool post that you make about it, you know. what
Yeah,
mean?
I
Like,
probably
look at
will
these parts
explain
that are inspired
eventually.
by-
Yeah, but I
Um,
wanted it to be just like really fucking annoying, like stupid, and like maybe get a jump scare out of people. But you know, what I
It
mean?
was
It's-
jarring.
Yeah,
watching it,
I
'cause
wanted
was-
it to be like
I was just expecting it to be
bothersome, like-
somewhat like the whatchamacallit,
like a goofy.
the fidget. I thought it would just be very fidget like
Yeah.
until like you in a dress and shit. I was like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah,
um,
I wanted it to be a little upsetting. So
yeah. Drew
Hopefully.
sent me a really funny video recently of this Japanese yo-yoer who made a video called Normcore Yo-yoing. Have you seen this?
yes,
And it's like talking about like Tresley and Henry
it was
Deneen
a
and-
Japanese. Yeah, but
and they're just talking.
it's hard to
about-
get a solid translation, but
Yeah, they're talking
I
about
wish I
like
could.
mid-school yo-yoing
Yeah.
that was like more inspired by old school, but very
Yeah.
intentional and like
Normcore is kind of a not the ideal name, but I still love that Tresley and those guys are getting recognition.
yeah. I mean,
Band of Horses freestyle.
I think it's people think of normcore like it's a negative thing, but it's really
Yeah, I guess not.
I don't know.
Danny should be in that video. I don't know if he is. He kind of fits in. I feel
Yeah,
like.
remind me. I'll show you pictures of the new freehands that are coming out. Yeah.
Yes,
But
please.
when Brian sent me photos today, I was like, oh, I need to find like more footage of him using a purple freehand from back in the day to like
Right.
repost just to promote it and stuff like that, so we don't just post like Jankum Dreams again, even though that video is a very good one.
Imagine if we had iPhones back then, dude.
Bro.
The fucking shit we would have made. Might be some cancelable shit.
Oh yeah, I mean track 5 is almost
Borderline, like
yeah,
ridiculous.
and it's great. The tricks in that are literally
Really
insane.
fucking good,
Yeah.
but no one watched it.
people
I mean,
watched
some
it back
people
then.
did,
Yeah.
but oh god,
We were
dude.
just on some shit back then where like we were putting out stuff and didn't care if anyone watched it because
Yeah.
it was just like no one got thousands of views on anything. So it's like just put it out and whenever people see it, they see it and it is what it is.
It was
Like,
funny too because we call it track 5 because Miggy had that mix CD,
Yeah.
and that was track 5 on it. But
I wish I could find that Cassidy song because I can't find it anywhere other than in that video.
oh, it's out there. I found it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not on streaming.
Oh,
Obviously.
no, of
it's on
course
a
not.
YouTube mixtape.
Yeah.
I remember like distinctly searching it out. But yeah, it's just funny. You mentioned I think last episode when we were talking about the beef with Kendrick and Drake, the Ether song.
Yeah.
Which first of all I re-listened to for the first time in years and like talk about cancel it. Like Jesus
Oh my
Christ.
god.
I mean
dude.
it's 99% just
homophobic,
homophobic
crazy shit. Yeah.
holy shit. But
Rockefeller died of AIDS. That was the end of his chapter. It's like,
I rock
Jesus
hoes,
Christ.
y'all rock fellas. Like it's an insult. But
which is, I mean, it's insulting, but
Oh,
it's also
yeah.
a very funny diss, like in the terms of the song where they're naming their labels Rockefeller.
yeah, no, it's insane.
I rock hoes, y'all
But
rock fellas. I
Do you
forgot.
remember? Because that was on the same mix CD that Miggy had. It was Tennessee State, so
Mhm.
you had to be there. And
Oh, yeah,
that
I
was
was
the
there.
first time I heard Ether, and he was driving us in the rental car or whatever. It was, I guess, you, me, and Danny, and maybe someone else, but he like explained like the Nas
The
Jay-Z
Jay-Z
beef,
Nas, yeah,
and we
yeah.
listened to both back to back, and he's like, Ether just clearly clears it completely, like it's so much better, and we were all
Yeah.
agreed. That was just a fun memory.
Nas is Miggy's favorite rapper too.
Yeah.
I mean, Illmatic is a perfect album
It
if
is.
you've ever listened
It's
to
absolutely
it.
perfect.
But yeah, even to this day, like when I listen to, I think we talked about this on the last podcast, but if you listen to like Ether or you listen to the Blueprint with the Jay-Z diss to Nas, you almost like have to listen to the follow-up right after. Like if you listen to Ether, you got to listen to Jay-Z's, or you listen to Jay-Z's, you got to listen to Nas.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just like in your brain, you're like, damn, like that was scathing. And you're like,
Yeah.
but wait a second, like the other guy came back with some crazy shit. And then you listen to the other one, you're like, damn, all right.
Jay-Z's is fun with the Doors sample.
Yeah.
But it's just Ether is like relentless.
Yeah, Ether was crazy, and there was like other disses after that were purely radio songs. But like
Yeah.
Jay-Z has one song called "Super Ugly" where he talks about like he like fucked Nas's baby mom, and like which he did, and like now Nas's
Yeesh.
baby mom will admit it. But Jay-Z's mom heard it, like she was listening to the radio at the time or whatever, or like someone told her like your son was acting a fool on the radio, and she like made Jay-Z call in and apologize to Nas.
Is that
like,
online?
yeah,
Oh,
somewhere,
yeah.
yeah, like on Hot 97, him being like, I apologize to Nasir Jones's family because of the remarks that I made that was uncalled for to bring other people's families into it, and I am sorry. Like
That's wild.
nowadays, people are so quick to be like, your dad abandoned you, fuck your mom, blah blah
Yeah.
blah, because it's like
Yeah.
everything is online now. It's not like you could make fun of Drake all day for having fucking beads in his hair and painting his nails, but it's not going to be
Yeah,
as,
I mean that's a big thing that like back then, which is the early 2000s, not that long. Like I feel like in hip hop, but in general, like talking about other people's mothers, like
oh
is
yeah, it's off limits.
but
yeah.
then Kendrick comes out with like a whole verse to Drake's mom. Like,
His whole family.
Sit down for this part. Your son's should die. He's a piece of. It's like, dude.
It doesn't even rhyme like you
Yeah.
said it. It's just like, I want you to die. You should
Yeah.
die. It's like, god damn, bro.
So that clearly doesn't really matter anymore. But at one point, it
Holy
did.
shit. Yeah,
I forgot what we were talking about.
it's all good. I'll promote this while we
Shit,
are talking
so
about new
good.
yo-yos. Yeah, this is a very wide yo-yo.
Really
compared
cool
to-
hybrid.
to Jake's Skinny Boy. It's a new collaboration I have coming out with Yo-Yo Friends, probably in July maybe. It's called The Woodpecker. It's kind of in the same vein as their Bird series, but also inspired by the Vacation shape. It's a hybrid yo-yo, like Jake said. It's got
like a wider
a
vacation.
Delrin palm body with 6061 rims on it. It's a really cool, fun yo-yo, especially considering that I just released a slimline yo-yo that was not at all for... You can do modern tricks on the Firecracker, but it's not like it's forgiving for
No,
those
this
type
thing
of
is
tricks.
awesome.
Yeah, like Evan could win worlds on that or something.
Oh,
Like,
easy.
It's a great yo-yo. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. Hypernova coming soon. That's gonna be within the next
I'm
few
gonna need
weeks,
a couple
probably.
of those.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Just let me know what colorways you
Yeah.
want. Did I show you the artwork yet?
Yes. The
Yeah, I'm
Drew Tate.
stoked. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to cover?
I don't think so. That was a good one. Sorry about the audio again, guys.
Yeah,
but
thanks. I'm so
we'll do our
pissed
best
about
to fix
that,
it
but
up in
whatever.
post.
Yeah, we'll try to fix it. Yeah.
And keep calling in.
Yeah,
We'll put
call
the number
again.
on
Yeah.
the screen.
I'll say the number right now because it's in the notes. The number is
All I can remember is the
863-732-9696, which is 863-732-yo-yo.
That's right.
I'll try to remember to put the number on top of the
Yeah.
video. But all right, thanks guys.
Thanks,
Peace.
guys. See ya.
Fuck! God, fucking damn it.